Wow. Yes, it is an Alice theme. Also, fuck you, Chloe. Making me do squats. Immediately. An asshole. An asshole pink cat that is very cute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, Chloe redeemed squats. Hello, everyone. Surprised to see Toasty in here. I haven't seen Toasty in forever. No, you. So, as you can see, there's the animal peoples, there's a cat boy. I think this guy might be a minotaur. Or some kind of cow. I don't know what these three are, because they're... Like, is that a fluffy tail? It's hard to tell. It's a dating sim. Woo. Now, this game is not out yet. But you can play the demo. Erebus. We'll begin shortly, but first let's learn a bit about you. Why are you out in the countryside on a summer afternoon? Walking along a rural path late in the afternoon, you catch the subtle scent of cherry blossoms. A gentle breeze brushes your skin, and the temperature is perfect. Does that mean it's like 65? A shiny object on the ground catches your attention. Approach it to see what it might be. Looks like a strange fantasy box. Try to pick it up. Oh, you want to decide whether to touch it or not? Fine. I don't touch the box and go on with my life without ever meeting the Hyperion. I wish to touch shinies. To be fair, in real life, I would totally be like, ooh, what's this? When you touch it, a jolt of energy runs through your entire body, making you drop the box. It breaks when it hits the ground. The light it emitted fades away. You gather the pieces and put them in your pocket. When you look up, you see a girl on the other side of the path. She looks flustered, nervous, searching through the bushes. She seems desperate. Something about her innocence wakes a protective instinct in you. Well, I mean, her hair's like purple. So like already they got me. Where did this thing go? By Hecate, Circe, and all the witches, I must find it. If it ever shows up, I promise I'll stay organized forever. Hi, have you seen a round box about the size of my hand? In this one? Yes, thank you so much. So you can see me. Oh no. Oh no. No, no, no. I have to fix this mess before they notice. I think if I just stick a pointy thing in the back, it'll reset. As I do, you'll forget all of this and I won't get in trouble. Oh no, it's broken. Did you drop it? Dad, you're dead. We're all dead. What? Don't you get it? Cross to this side and they can see you, but humans can't see me anymore. Oh no, I can't cross to your side either. Do you know what that means? I won't be able to go shopping. But for you, it's much worse. I'm not sure, but maybe. What? Shadows will track you down, drink your blood, eat your flesh, and gnaw your bones as soon as night falls. What? My what? Look, vampires are hot. The Inquisition, but that was a long time ago. Now I need to light a good fire if we want to keep you alive, because the night is falling, and no offense, but you smell a lot like a human, and those things are very hungry. But I showered today. Something didn't get scrubbed because you still smell human. It's already getting dark. You won't be safe anywhere. Let me protect you. I stay with the stranger who says weird things. For a few minutes, nothing happens. You know she's glancing at you, and as soon as she realizes, she looks down and blushes, but no signs of the terrifying shadows she mentioned. Decide to ask the stranger a question to break the ice. What's your name? The girl interrupts you before you can speak. Don't you see them? She looks around and you notice grotesque-shaped shadows have surrounded you. You can see how, but the girl lights a small flame that floats above her hand. Don't worry, they're scared of fire, she says it as if having a flame in her hand was the most normal thing in the world. You can hold my hand if you want, the one that's not burning. That way we're closer, and I can protect you better. Sure. By the way, my name is Nkoruha? Nkoruha? But everyone calls me Koru. I'm sorry for butchering your name, lovely lady. I'm Eris. Eris, what a cute name. When her small fingers touch yours, she tries to hide a tender sigh. She cannot be that small, for I am small. She waves her free hand to chase the shadows away, but brings the flame too close to you, and you fear she'll set you on fire. Koru, I think I'm gonna burn. Oh, you feel it too? This has never happened so fast with anyone before, but when you're about to burn with your flame. Oh, sorry. She lets go of your hand and takes a couple steps back. For a moment, you fear she'll get too far and a shadow might catch you. Flame keeps them at bay, but they don't seem to want to leave. Saver glances at a dry bush and looks tempted to set it on fire to scare away the shadows. Suddenly, a chilling wolf's howl breaks the silence of the night. Wild, powerful sound that makes your heart skip a beat. Maybe that guy was a wolf, not a cat. That happens. Almost instantly, the shadows scatter. Wolfie, I swear it was an accident. How all your confessions begin, Koru. Okay, so he is a wolf boy, not a cat boy. A stranger has appeared right beside you, and you didn't even hear him approach. From the ears and tail, you figure the howl that made the shadows disappear was his. There are many strange things about his appearance, but for a few seconds you can't look away from his intense amber eyes. They hypnotize you. It takes you a moment to react and snap out of the trance. Scans you shamelessly from head to toe. Oh my god. So you can see us. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tiago. Can I call you Wolfie? Only friends and some old friends and some lovers call me that. You and I just met. Damn. Wolfie, Eris accidentally touched the device Boo gave me, and well, they've accidentally crossed over to our side. Accidentally. Shadows picked up their scent and came to feast on human flesh. I used some fire to scare them off, but just a tiny little flame. One sec. Da-da-da. Bwomp. After Xana's scolding, I didn't want to cause another wildfire. Thanks for showing up and scaring them away. I thought the shadows getting restless, so I came to see what was going on. Eris, why are you looking at me like that? Never seen someone with a tail. So long. I get that a lot. It's pretty normal size for a dog. Wolfie, can we borrow your little device that allow us to move between realms? You mean the portable portal? Yes, that. Can we borrow it? First, Boo forbade us from exchanging them. Second, you already have one. And third, never carry mine with me. Never? What if you want a human to see you? What would you do? 5. If you find someone you like again. It won't happen again. Sure, Wolfie. Well, can we borrow your portable portal? Haru, tell me you didn't break the portable portal. Should go see Professor Boo right now. Oh, he's going to be so mad. I mean, we promised 1,000 times I'll be careful. And I was careful. Thing is, I saw an injured cat and I wanted to be its friend so I could take it to get healed. And to keep it from running, I turned it into a cat. And to make it see me, I used a portable portal. But then I forgot where I left it. Actually, a wolf. What are you? Aside from being hot, we're friends. Damn this man! He is full of himself. And we have a League of Legends team. Oh, no. I quit that a while ago. Take a slow breath and muster some patience. I'm gonna go home. You're in our realm, our dimension. Your house won't protect you. Don't leave. The shadows will eat you without our help. And they'll go num num num. What do I gotta do to go back home? The portable portal that transported you. But since Koru broke hers, we have no idea how. You have to ask the one who built it, Professor Boo. Can you call him? He doesn't even have a phone. He's convinced if he got one or joined social media, someone would be spying on him. Well, he would be right. We're going to see him now. He lives near Toledo. Can easily teleport within this realm. That's how I got here from Galacia. Don't worry, Koru and I will take you. I'm staying. If I go, Professor Boo's going to give me a hard time. Again. You started this mess. The portable portal they used to cross into our realm is linked to you. We'll probably need you. Hi, Crispy. Thank for 2 year and a month. Hello. Don't give me that, you shit. You little shitter. If Boo gets really mad at me, will you defend me? Sure. As an anxious tiny ball? Yes. Thanks, I knew I could count on you. Just tell him it was all your fault. Koru, Kitty, I'm afraid you're not getting out of this one. Come on, let's go see Boo. He's in a better mood at night. Oh, I don't really have to go, right? You should come. Koru pretends to pout, but accepts the decision. Count of 3, grab Eris's hand, and we'll teleport to Boo's house. 1, 2, woo! A hand far too big to be Koru's grabs you tightly, and a flash binds you. Panic a bit when you feel how sharp the fingers of that hand are. No, I'm okay with all of this. They're all monster people. That's part of why I was interested in playing this game, because they're all monster people, and I'm into that. Teleported again, and you're no longer in the Cherta Valley, but not in anyone's home either. Find yourself in a huge cold cave. Chill runs down your spine. Something feels wrong. The hand that grabbed you vanished with a flash. No one else is around in that mysterious place. Or is there? Eris, curious name. A deep, warm voice envelops you and sends tingles across your skin. You recognize it. You look around, nervous, trying to see where it's coming from, but you can only see a shadow. You guys are acting like I've never talked about monster fucking on stream. Try and fail to keep your voice from trembling. I'm the god of darkness. But you can call me Goiko. Oh, you got claws! Oh, well, hi. I see you're not easily impressed. That makes you very interesting. Cow! Are Cora and Tiago? Don't worry about the witch and the mutt. Right now they're probably arguing because she thinks she didn't grab your hand properly. What a shame that such a powerful witch is so insecure. What are you gonna do with me? I brought you here because I owe you an apology. It was my shadows that tried to attack you. I'm very sorry. I don't want you to be harmed, my dear. I don't know how to say that. You don't get many mortal visitors in this realm. I'm okay. Knowing the shadows won't attack you again gives you some relief, and you finally allow yourself to examine the being that brought you to this cave. Its imposing horns or jewelry should be the most impressive part of its appearance, but it's the contrast between its bright green eyes and its dark skin that keeps you staring. Why it? He's clearly masculine. Granted, he hasn't told us his pronouns, so I should be nicer. Now tell me, how did you cross from your mortal realm into ours? I touched a thing and it broke. Portable portal, Professor Boo's invention. All I know is you're here. Judging by your expression, I assume something is bothering you. Maybe I can help. What's wrong? I want to go home. It's a very reasonable wish. This place is dangerous for mortals like you. Don't worry, I'll keep you safe and help you get back home. At the same time, you can help me. What do you say? Do we have a deal? I don't know, it seems sus. God of Darkness is starting to lose patience. Oh my god. I think you hear horse hoofbeats echoing through the room, but somehow the sound morphs into the clacking of heeled boots. Oh, I guess he's a horse with horns? No, she's a horse. Okay. He's a cow, she's a horse. Am I interrupting something? Hi, Joanna. You've arrived just in time to join us. Follow Greco's gaze and see a striking woman in a short jacket, a rose in her hair, a riding crop in hand, and a very displeased look. Not even drunk. She scans you with her eyes, almost like she's x-raying you. She doesn't look pleased. Is this a creature that crossed over? They have a name and they're human. This is Eris. The human part is still up for debate. I am also a demon, to be fair. How'd you manage to get into my lair? I've stolen gold from 3 kings. I know a thing or two about caves. Getting in was easy. Let's hope walking out is just as easy. Augur, appreciate the visit. I'm not leaving without this creature. Professor Tiago and Koru are looking for it. And I knew if something vanished in the middle of the night, you were the one to blame. I like the witch. She's cute. Don't be fooled, creature of evil. Maybe Koru thinks everyone's good and Tiago gets lost in eyes like yours, but I don't buy your act. And now you're coming with me. She walks towards you with a hypnotic sway. Greco tries to stand between you, but Joanna pulls out a large yellow flower from under her jacket. Get that out of here! Lord of Shadows falls to the ground and covers his face with his arm, while his vast chamber begins to tremble and some stones fall. I don't know what you're doing, Joanna. Slowly, Joanna puts the flower away again. Did you think I'd come without an Egusculore? Pizza! Well, darling, it's been a pleasure as always. Now this thing and I are off to see Professor Boo. Okay. Shut up. I'm coming too. Suit yourself. You know you don't really have a lot of friends in Toledo. But I'm the one transporting the thing. I don't trust you one bit. The woman grabs your arm with 2 fingers, as if she was afraid of catching something from you. So again, you're engulfed in a blinding light. Okay, so she's a bitch and keeps calling me an it. You appear in a huge storage room crammed with books, blackboards, screens, and gadgets straight out of a sci-fi movie. Koru rushes to you and gives you a hug. Are you okay? I was so scared. What do you do? I freak out. Because, I don't normally get hugs, so I'd be like, ah! Sorry I didn't grab your hand in time. Don't touch that thing, Koru. We still don't know what curses it carries. You better not have laid a single finger on them, you filthy rat. Greco gives him a mocking look. Says the one who didn't want to get involved with humans again. Shut up or I'll shut you up. You're always like this. So boring. Boo, can we open a window? There's too much testosterone in the air. The one who crossed over is a human. That must be the famous Professor Boo. Surprised you hadn't noticed him before. He's very tall. Yeah. I mean, demon isn't an option, so I have to go with human. I don't believe a word that comes out of their mouth. What matters is the Eris is the one who broke my portable portal. How did they find it? Because you lost it. And what did I say about the portable portal? That it would never get lost. No, that you should never lose sight of it. But you can't punish me for 100 years without a portable portal. But then humanity will be half dead from global warming, and there'll be nothing fun left to do in their realm. Shh, away go Coco. You've got to see this. It's super cute. Koru leads you to a fluffy pink ball. Lets out adorable snores that make you want to pet it. Noticing it's being watched, it immediately stretches. El Coco! The plush opens its huge black eyes and waddles around the room, rearranging things and repeating, El Coco, El Coco. I don't want to squish it, it's cute! Koru chases after it and Boo growls in frustration. Hook him up again. El Coco! What do you want to eat? Children! On it. Her heart stops when you see Professor Boo walking calmly towards an old fridge. Terrified of what might be inside, so you close your eyes when he opens it. But curiosity wins, and what you see are dozens of store-brand frozen meals. Grabs one box and heats it up in the microwave while the cocoa continues to wreak havoc and Koru keeps trying to stop it. Ham children. Boo opens a package full of croquettes and hands it to El Coco, who eats them one by one, saying, "Child, child, child. Delicious child." Frozen food? Feeding El Coco frozen food? Between monitoring both dimensions, fixing Koru's messes, guarding the Hellgate under my house, and trying to stop humanity from self-destructing, I don't have time for homemade meals for El Coco. But if you want to take over, we can share custody. Me? No. Terrible at taking care of things. I kill plants in days, and I'm super busy. Busy with what? Guarding one of the safest routes in the world. Shut up or I'll shut you up. I could take care of El Coco. No. No. Hey, give the girl a break. Do you think it's safe to let Koru take care for El Coco? No, but there's no need to freak out. Aren't you afraid of El Coco? Mortal raised fear El Coco from birth. There's a famous lullaby, don't you know it? Hush, little baby, sleep, little one, or El Coco will come to eat you alive. Never heard of it. Told them what this place is and who we are, right? They'll understand why El Coco is here. They told me you have a League of Legends team. What's an LOL team, and why wasn't I invited? Told them about that, but didn't tell them what we are. Better tell you where you are, at least the short version. Many years ago, humans and the mist they created lived in the same realm, but that caused a lot of problems. Tiago clears his throat and glares at Goeko. Oh, please, like I was the only one. So they split us into two parallel realms, two dimensions in one place. Couldn't enter our realm and we couldn't enter yours, in theory. In theory. When a bond forms between a myth and a mortal, the portal separating the realms opens, allowing travel between them. Since that's not always possible, decades ago I invented the portable portal, a device we can use to cross over and return at will. But he didn't give it to everyone. Only to those of us who don't want to destroy humanity. I don't think you should use Koru's portable portal to go back. Have catastrophic consequences for you. So I suggest you use the traditional method. Form a bond of friendship with the myth, then go to the portal, open it, and return home. I volunteer. Koru, I'm not sure your power is strong enough to open the portal right now. How could your power not be weak when you will make her feel useless? I don't know what I just did with that voice. I recommend someone like Tiago or Joanna. I recommend myself. I'm very recommendable. You should bond with me. Though be warned, you'll miss me afterward. You'll make El Coco throw up with that ego of yours. I just don't get why Professor Boo would recommend you, as rude as you are. I can bond with anything. And I'll do whatever it takes to send this mortal creature back. No need for sacrifice. I'm more than happy to get to know my Dea better. You don't want to help them, you want to use them. Me using someone? That's offensive, you mangy dog. You're all forgetting about Professor Boo. If anyone can help, it's him. Is he blushing? Created the portable portal. He knows the most about our realms. Yeah, I guess I could try. The most important thing is to form a bond. And the one who must decide with who, it's you. Koru, she's the one most eager to lend you a hand. Some doubt her skills, others whisper she's a powerful witch. He can howl like a wolf, and who knows what else. He's clearly your best choice in his humble opinion. He's a top expert, the safest choice, but could you be the one to melt his icy heart? She doesn't trust you, won't give you an easy chance, but who can resist the thrill of a challenge? His intentions are wrapped in mystery, as dark as the shadows he rules, and that's exactly what draws you in. Chat, who do you think we should go with? Personally, I'm leaning towards cute witch or cool professor. Hello, Crimson. Happy visual novel day. I'm trying to choose. I'm bad at making choices. Just trust your gut, unless you have IBS right now. I'm thinking one of these two. Why don't we go with Koru? Ratio likes Professor. Oh my god, we have one vote for each. Ah! I think she's very cute, but also I like a nerd. Yeah, we're gonna do Koru. Oh no, that's the end of the demo. Mostly anxiety. Oh, that's so mean. I wonder if there's secret surprise romance peoples. I don't think that's true, Ratio. The game is not actually out. But if you're interested in the cute monster people, it is available to wishlist on Steam, and there's a demo. And there's also, like, a trailer and stuff. I think the professor's some kind of bird. He's got wings. Like, personally, I lean towards cute witch or cool professor. But, you know. Date everything? I don't have date everything. One I'm interested in trying at some point, and I would have actually liked to do today, but I have no money. Is called Boyfriend Dungeon. It's not just guys. Don't worry, chat. It's not just men. There's also cute girls. It's called Boyfriend Dungeon, and the romance options are your weapons. Which is like, fuck yeah, you could date your sword! What, you guys don't want to date a sword that turns into a hot person? But I don't have it, and it's not on sale, and it's like $20, so fuck me. Anyways. I got it. Why so many things don't have borderless windowed options? I didn't mean to close it. Anyways, it's a lesbian vampire game. Start! Faster, Mika, faster. You have to keep moving or else... Oh god, they're caning on us. Mika ran through the forest as quickly as her legs would carry her, which, given how exhausted she felt, was not very. She tried to obey Henny's orders, fearful both of letting her friend down and of the shadowy figure which pursued them, but her body refused to listen. Her legs felt numb and insensible, as unfeeling as marble, but far, far weaker. It was through nothing save sheer force of will that she was able to keep going, for all her strength had already abandoned her. Though Micah continued to run, staggering blindly through the fog, she feared it was already a lost cause. She was but a young woman, slender, and, while not so very short, quite unaccustomed to exerting herself. I am short and chubby, bad at running. She was not like Henny, who spent her days on her hands and knees polishing the floors and blacking the fireplaces. Micah's fingers were white as ivory, while Henny's were red raw through demanding, often physical labor. Micah's lungs, meanwhile, were straining from the agonizing effort of running. Never before had she known that the act of merely existing could be so exhausting. Yeah, 'cause you're rich! Micah, please, you need to hurry. Quickly, Micah! Henny reached back to take hold of Micah's hand, her coarse, short fingernails digging into Micah's palm. Henny was gripping so tightly it hurt, but Micah knew, should she lag behind, she would find herself in far greater pain than this. Micah recalled how her father had looked back in their carriage, his eyes wide, and his face unusually pale. Oh, hey, Carrick. Oh my god. Micah had never seen her father look so scared before. He was a tall, imposing figure of a man, dashing even in his early 50s, who was accustomed to issuing orders and not receiving them. Micah thought her father immovable, much like the oak tree which shielded her family's mausoleum, a tree which had stood there for longer than the crypt itself. To Micah, her father had seemed like a force of nature, one which was impossible to argue with or get the better of. This supposition had been turned on its head earlier that night, however, in a mere handful of minutes. For all of his bluster, Micah's father was only human. He was made of flesh and blood, just like Micah, and when cut, he bled. Isn't that crazy? If it bleeds, you can kill it. He had bled a lot, in fact, all over the plush, upholstered seats of their carriage and onto the floor. His fine clothes had been stained black with the stuff, and the air had stunk of it, sharp and metallic. Micah could smell her father's blood. This is a lesbian vampire game. You haven't seen the vampires yet, but they're there. And they're lesbians. I mean, maybe not all of them. There might be, like, not lesbian vampires, but... Micah could smell her father's blood on her even now as she and Henny raced through the forest. She couldn't forget it, however much she wished to. Oh, if only the events of that night had been nothing more than a bad dream. Micah wished that the fog would clear and she would awake, her eyelids fluttering, to discover herself sitting once more in her bed, in her home, the room flooded with pale sunlight. Micah! But Micah's surroundings did not shift. The trees continued to press in about her as though they meant to eat her alive. Their shadowy pursuers were beginning to close in on them. Micah knew she had no hope of outrunning them. She was flagging, her heart hammering in the base of her throat. What would happen when Micah was not so optimistic to hope for an if they caught her? What would they do to Henny? The thought was almost more than Micah could bear. It had been bad enough to lose her parents, but to lose Henny too? Why, she had done nothing wrong. Unlike Micah, Henny was no lady. She was just a maid. She was only being targeted because of her relationship to Micah and her family. Had Henny been traveling alone, she would have passed through the forest quite unscathed. You don't know that! Wasn't as though Henny had any valuables upon her person that were worth the effort of pilfering. Henny... Micah appealed to her maid between short gasps of air, which pierced her lungs as keenly as knitting needles. Please, let go. Leave me be. I'm just slowing you down. I don't care. I'm not leaving you behind. But... there aren't any buts. I told you. I won't leave you. Now let's keep running. Micah wanted to run. Really, she did. But her body had already begun to give in. Her heart might have been pumping fit to burst at the base of her throat, but her legs were weak despite the excess blood which filled her, and her hand, in Henny's, felt cold and clammy. She had exhausted all of her energy slumping and escaping from the carriage where her parents' bodies lay. Now she would die only a few hundred paces away from their final resting place. Would her mutilated carcass be discovered in the days hence and taken back to her family's home? She and her parents be embalmed and sealed away within their mausoleum? Micah did not much like this thought. Her family's mausoleum was a terrifying place full of somber stone angels and spider webs. It was quiet, being situated among tall trees, but its quietude was not at all relaxing. While it is a mausoleum, there's dead people in there. Quiet was the deep, fathomless silence of death. Yes, because it's a mausoleum. Micah did not want to die. She knew not how she would continue to live on, with both her parents slaughtered before her very eyes, but she did not want to succumb as they had, in this forest full of fog. She wanted to go on living, for her sake and for Henny's, though not necessarily for Walter's. God, they're getting closer. I need to keep running. Come on, Micah. But, like the guttering flame of a candle, the last of her energy had been expended. Micah's foot caught in a tangled tree root which jutted from the ground like a bear trap, and she fell. Her hand, which was slick with sweat, slipped from Henny's. She reached out, searching for her loyal maid through the fog, but to little avail. Micah! Henny's voice echoed in Micah's ears, shrill and frantic. Micah's heart juttered in her chest, hard, as though meaning to stop altogether, but it did little good. Her head smacked against the ground with a dull, anticlimactic thud. Micah's teeth bit against her tongue. She tasted copper. Her vision swam. Micah! Oh God, Micah, get up! Please, get up! Then everything went black. The night that never ended. What? Micah was greeted, upon waking, by a dull, crushing pain that gripped her skull like a vice. Brackish taste akin to pond water filled her mouth, and with one hand clasped to her head, she coughed. Micah's body shuddered, and her lungs burned. It took a minute before her coughing fit subsided, but once it did, Micah began to glance uneasily around her surroundings. She hoped that her immediate surroundings might shed some light upon her predicament. But her hopes were in vain. Micah had no idea where she was. The floor upon which she was sitting, but why was she sitting on the floor of all things, was made of stone, which felt hard and cold and uncompromising. The walls, too, were made of stone, as was the ceiling, which felt very far away. A wooden cot was pushed up close against one of the walls, but it was so steeped in shadow Micah could scarcely make it out. There was a chamber pot lying by the cot, which she did not care to examine too closely. But its rim and sides were stained with caked-on filth. Truly unpleasant odor from the chamber pot, which made Micah's eyes sting. It was fortunate that she had no immediate desire to relieve herself, for she had no wish to use this commode. Quick examination of the room, though really it was more like a cell, showed Micah that, save for the cot and the chamber pot, it was utterly desolate. There was no other furniture to be seen, no shelves, no cupboards, or even a proper bed. There was no mirror either, so Micah could not see herself, but perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. Micah doubted she would be at her best given she was in so much pain, and she was so very exhausted. She was so cold. She could feel goosebumps rippling across her flesh, and her teeth were chattering badly. Micah wound her arms around her middle and shivered sadly. It was not only the chamber pot that stunk, the very air itself was rank, heavy with the stench of unwashed bodies and general decay. This room, no, she was sure that this was a cell, reeked of death. How had she come to such a place? What had happened to her? Micah could remember sitting alongside her mother and father in their carriage as it bore them through the forest, and then... There, at this most pivotal of moments, her memories failed her. Micah could recall nothing else. Had her parents been there, they would have given her instructions. They always seemed to know what Micah ought to be doing at any given time, but they were not there, and neither was Henny. Micah was all alone. Henny had been with her, Micah was certain, before... Before what? Why could she not remember anything? Oh, Micah thought sorrowfully, if only she was made of stone, then, perhaps, her head would not hurt so much. It really did feel that her skull might explode, not from the pain, though the pain still remained, but from raw, unbridled fear. Hey, Andrew. Yeah, lesbian vampires. This is only the demo, though, because I am too poor to buy game. Mike had often dreamed of stealing away from her parents' home to embark upon a brand new life, fettered by expectations, but she had never wished for this. Tears began to trickle down Micah's cheeks in crystalline droplets. They scored tracks in the dirt which caked her cheeks, and dropped one by one to the floor. Her head bowed, fingers splayed against the stones. Micah sobbed, and she sobbed until... What's going on? A soft voice spoke from amongst the teeming shadows. Micah could not see the speaker. She could scarcely see at all, given the darkness, and now her own tears. But she recognized its familiar cadences. The voice belonged to Henny. Micah's dear friend was here too, in the stone cell which smelt of death. Though Micah feared for Henny, she could feel relief bubbling up inside her. She was not alone after all. Henny! Micah crawled forth on her hands and knees, being too exhausted to stand, and stared into the shadows. Henny, is that you? Micah? Shaft of moonlight spilled through the singular barred window hewn high into the wall of their cell. Finally, Micah was afforded a view of her maid. Though christened Henrique, Mike had always called her beloved maid Henny. Seemed a more appropriate name for so cheery a woman, for Henny, come rain or shine, was rarely seen without a smile. Henny was not smiling now, however. I wonder why! She was sitting upon the wooden cot which Micah had first spied, her head bent. Henny's face looked woefully weary, and had lost much of its usual pinkness, her apron once white, now stained and sullied with dirt. I don't know, it looks pretty white to me. Henny's shoes had been black and sensible, but now they were mired in filth, and her socks were wrapped up about her ankles. Henny's hands, which she held at her front, were trembling like those of a woman thrice her age. She looked an awful sight, but Micah knew she could hardly have been any better herself. Henny's hair might have been a mess, but at least she kept it short. It was not so very much of Henny's dark tresses to be worked into a state of disorder. Micah's own hair, meanwhile, was very long and curly, and though she had worn it in a chignon... Chignon? French! She could now feel it straggling loosely about her shoulders. The back of her neck prickled. I'm burpy today, either from the cold or from a dislodged hairpin or two. Perhaps that was why Henny stared at Micah so, once she had regained her own sense of equilibrium, as though she had seen a ghost. My God, Micah! Henny looked so alarmed, and Micah felt almost ashamed. Micah was no stranger to shame. She felt it frequently, in fact. She was with her mother, but it rarely raised its ugly head in Henny's presence. And yawning. Maybe I'm reading too fast. Since Micah's girlhood, Henny had been her one staunch, steadfast companion. She's the only person Micah knew who took Micah for who she was rather than wishing, often aloud, to her face. that she could be more appreciative, more amenable, more effusive, more like a lady, and less like herself. Henny didn't want Micah to be more. She only wanted Micah to be Micah. Did that mean, then, that Micah did not look like Micah in that moment? But who else did she resemble, if not herself? You're probably just very dirty, ma'am. What had happened to her? Are you all right, Micah? Oh, look at your poor face. Henny rose from the wooden cot, which creaked, and crouched before her friend. Reaching out, still shaking, she cupped Micah's cheek in her fingers and said, You're bleeding. I am? Yes, you have a nasty cut beneath your right eye and your cheek. Henny sucked in a breath, her expression grim. It's all banged up. You're positively black and blue. Oh, hadn't realized. I'm sorry, Henny. What? Henny, who had procured a handkerchief from her skirt pocket, it, fortunately, wasn't dirty, paused in her dabbing at Micah's face to look at her with bemusement. Why are you apologizing to me, you daft goose? Did nothing to feel sorry for. I don't know. I'm just sorry for making you worry, I suppose. Oh, think not of it. It's my job to worry about you. I'm your maid, remember? Is that a typo? There's supposed to be a W there, or does she say it nout? Well, of course I remember that much. Thoughts might be in a state of disarray at the present, but I could never forget you. Much more than my maid, Henny. You're my friend, too. My dearest friend. I could very well say the same about you. It's quite hard seeing you in such a frightful state. Do I look so very bad? Well, now, I don't know what I'm doing with Henny's voice. I'm going all over the place. Henny scanned Micah's face, her brown eyes now bright with mischief. That depends on how honest you want me to be. Oh, dear. Do I look as bad as all that? You've certainly looked better. Your face is as banged up as a windfall apple. An apple? Micah shook her head in wonderment. I only hope that the apple isn't riddled with worms. I don't think you've anything to worry about on that score, at least. Well, that is a relief. I suppose things could always be worse. Right you are. That's the spirit. You're still alive, and so am I, and we're together. It's ought to count for something, although... Henny finished wiping the merce of the congealed blood and muck from Micah's cheek, then drew back, her soiled kerchief gripped tight in her hand. Her expression newly dour, she said, after a moment's pause, I am afraid that your parents might not have been so fortunate. What? Micah's heart leapt in her chest at the somber announcement. What happened to them, Henny? Do you know what's going on? You don't? Called that we were traveling to Augsburg to visit my fiancé, but as for how we came here... Micah closed her eyes in the hope of remembering something, but again nothing came. Mind remained stubbornly blank, featureless as a snowy field, all flora blanketed in untrammeled whiteness. I think that's supposed to be trampled. I'm afraid I cannot remember. Okay, so like, if she's not gonna remember what happened, why even have the earlier scene? Why not just let Henny explain what happened? Not a single thing? Nothing. I see. Henny grit her teeth together for a few moments, her eyes dark. She seemed to be weighing up her words as a baker might measure out flour and sugar before speaking. That's not such a surprise, I suppose. You hit your head pretty hard back there. Might be for the best that you can't remember all the gory details. I wish I could forget what happened myself, but... Henny's voice trailed away as, awkwardly, she gripped her kerchief. That kerchief had been the only clean thing in Micah and Henny's cell, but now it, too, was ruined, streaked with brown and red. Deep was the cut that Micah had sustained, and how much had she bled? This, too, remained a mystery. Micah did not know. There seemed much, all of a sudden, she was ignorant of. She felt so very unworthy she might as well have been a little girl again, enthused after she had successfully stolen the key to her father's mausoleum. Micah had not known as she stood in the chill entrance of the mausoleum. She was about to lower herself into her subterranean world of death and decay, but part of her had wondered. Henny. Micah took Henny's hand in her own, her cracked fingernails digging into her skin. What happened? Please, tell me. I want to know. Oh, I forgot to turn this off. Traumatic moment. Bleh. Face. Yes, I thought you might. That does make things might complicated, though. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. Just promise you won't take against me for what I'm about to tell you. I've gone through a lot tonight already. That would be the straw to break the camel's back. Henny, please, you should know this is a trivial concern. Fully aware that none of this is your fault. Only ever sought to protect me. No better friend than you, not in all the world. And it's precisely because I want to protect you that I don't want to go into all this. I know it'll upset you. Christ. It upsets me too. It's an upsetting situation all around. It's rotten, really, what people are capable of, but... Henny paused. She sucked in a breath, then, in a calmer tone, she said, Just how much do you want to know? How much is there to know? Oh, I remember everything. Always remember tonight, I expect. Made quite the impression. Horrible things always do. Oh dear, are things truly that dire? They're pretty bad, yes. Give me an abridged account, then. I've no need to hear everything. Right you are. Henny bowed her head in acquiescence, her face half swallowed by the shadows. The beam of light which had penetrated their drab cell had long since been extinguished, the moon obscured beneath the rolling fog. It was so cold in their cell Micah could not cease her shivers. Even her teeth felt cold, like shards of ice implanted into her gums. Henny's proximity served as something of a comfort, but it could not rid Micah of her trepidation. She knew, once Henny relayed the past events to her, her life would no longer be the same. Everything would change. It was changing already, in fact, so quickly that Micah hardly had a chance to gather her bearings. She felt lost, adrift, and hopelessly afraid. Sorry to tell you this, Micah, but during our travels, the carriage, it was attacked by bandits. What? No. Yes, they came creeping out from the fog like, I don't know, monsters from a children's story, maybe, but much scarier. They waylaid the carriage, then stormed it. They drew out their daggers and threatened your father, and he refused to comply. Well, Henny's expression twisted. They stabbed him. What? Micah stared. She had expected as much before Henny began her gruesome tale, but the news still shook her. So I just think that first scene was kind of pointless if she's going to then forget it and then have it recounted to her. It doesn't add anything. It's just weird. Evidently, she had not been half so prepared to hear the worst as she had imagined. Oh God, not my papa. My poor papa. Don't tell me he didn't... I'm sorry, but... Henny sniffed. It's as you're probably suspecting. His wound was a deep one, and he died. Dead? My papa? Dead? Dead as a doornail, I'm afraid. Girl, what the fuck? I didn't hang around to see what happened, but... Well, it was all over so quickly I don't think he suffered, at least. And my mama? What of her? Don't tell me she also... Henny didn't reply, but the discomfort which crossed her face left Micah with no doubts as to her mother's fate. One brief night, both of Micah's parents had been slaughtered. Now she was an orphan. You're a grown-ass woman! And what of us, Henny? How did we escape? I find it hard to believe the bandits would just let us go. Oh, I'm sure we would have joined your parents if we'd sat still, like good little girls, but I didn't want to do that. I took your hand while they were busy with your mother, and we ran away. We fled through the woods, but the bandits took chase pretty darn quick. It was very dark and the fog was thick and I could hardly see what was happening. At one point you tripped and you fell. That's how you got that nasty cut on your poor forehead. And I was dragged down with you. We lay there on the ground, in the dirt, while the bandits tramped about looking for us. I figured we were both a couple of goners. I started to say my prayers to the Lord Almighty, but then... we survived. Yes, we survived. This, Micah supposed, was not such a surprise. Without saying, really, that they'd survived. Otherwise, they would not be sitting in this ghastly cell speaking to one another. Either the bandits had spared them, which seemed unlikely, or somebody had come to their defense. Would have been wandering the woods so very late at night, however. Or the bandits captured you and put you in a cell. She's kinda dumb. Micah could hardly credit it. Their escape must have been the stuff the fantasies were made of. Do you know how we escaped, Henny? I know what my eyes saw, but if my eyes can be trusted or not, well, that's another matter altogether. I think I might have bumped my head myself. It was all so peculiar. At the time, it seemed like a miracle, but looking back on it, that ain't the right word. Miracle suggests God and all his angels, but there was naught holy about this. Okay, so she just has a W in her knots. I think that's just how she talks. It was the right proper mess, really. Total bloodbath. Blood? Yes, there was blood, and lots of it. It's hard for me to explain, but all I know is, one moment we were sprawled upon the dirt, you unconscious, I half out of my mind with fright, as bandits approached. And the next, they were all gone. Gone? But where? And how? Did they run away? Not necessarily. Not of their own free will. Fog parted, you see, and then this figure. This woman. She appeared so quick, it was like she'd sprung up from the earth. She wasn't very tall. I don't think she was, at least. She was very skinny, but the way she looked, the way she moved, there was something unnatural about her. I didn't get a very good look at what happened next, but I saw her go after those bandits. I think there were at least 4 of them, but that woman soon took care of them. There was so much blood and a lot of mud. It stank to high heaven, it did. Brought tears to my eyes. That woman, though, the woman in white, she didn't seem fussed at all. She stood there, once she'd finished beneath the moon, like nothing had happened, and then... Henny pressed her fingers to her brow and, overwhelmed, shook her head. I don't remember anything after that. I think I must have fainted. When I finally woke up, I found myself here. It was your crying that woke me up. I've never been able to rest easy while you're in tears, Micah. Yes, I know. You've always been so good and so kind. Thank you, Henny. Micah chanced to smile. The muscles about her mouth felt atrophied. Went away, bawling the news of her parents' demise. I have no idea what I would do without you. Sounds like you saved me. Okay, I need more liquids. So I will BRB. Hello. I have obtained liquids. From the bandits, I suppose I did. And I wasn't much use when you took that nasty spill. There's no way I would have been able to carry you to safety. Not when we were all turned about in the woods, and I had no idea where we were. I think I scraped my own shin, too. My ankle aches. I'd have been gone as if that woman hadn't appeared. But now that I'm talking about it, it doesn't sound real. I can't think of any woman who would be able to beat 4 men in a test of strength. Not even your own Mademoiselle Blanchard. Micah's smile widened at this, despite the severity of their situation, and she was even able to manage a laugh. It was a weak laugh, which contained little in the way of mirth, but it was sincere. Henny never failed to cheer her up. She must have had a knack for it. Micah was too old to believe in magic, but when she was with Henny, she sometimes wondered. Are you sure it was a woman who fended off those bandits? Perhaps it was some sort of animal instead, and you failed to perceive it in the fog? That could be it. Like I said, my mind's a mess. I feel like I've lost a good 10 years off of my life. Although... Here, Henny smiled grimly, in the manner of all survivors after witnessing something horrid. It's better than having it cut short altogether. I must be thankful for small mercies, yes, even if our lives were saved at my parents' expense. Micah squeezed her eyes shut. She could feel tears beating upon her lashes anew. This time she was able to subdue them. The news of her parents' deaths was a heavy burden to bear, but Micah, not having witnessed their final moments, found it hard to imagine. No, it sounds like you did. You just have amnesia. Still did not seem quite real. The shock of it all, perhaps, had blunted her senses. It would take a while for her parents' passing to truly register. When it did, however, Micah did not doubt the tears would come, thicker and faster than before. It had not always been so, but her childhood misadventures in her family's crypt had left her something of a crybaby. Now then. Micah inhaled, then glanced about. Where do you suppose we are, and how do you suppose we got here? That's a good question. I've been wondering that myself. It's not the nicest of digs, is it? Not particularly, no. It's awfully drab, and it's damp, too. I'm freezing. You poor thing. Come here. Henny shifted closer to Micah, then drew her arms about her. Holding her close, she then glanced about. Both maid and mistress squinted into the shadows, so they might unearth some secret way of escaping. A trap door, perhaps, or a hidden passageway. But to Micah's disappointment, she found the cell quite unchanged. It was every bit as sparse as she recalled. The shadows did little to mask this fact. And still, it stank. Goodness me, so much to look at, is it? Might as well be in a prison cell. I think that might be what this is. Henny drew back from Micah, her legs crossed beneath her upon the stone floor, and frowned. I reckon you're right. I wonder who brought us here. You and me both. It's nice of our mysterious benefactor, or benefactress, to rescue us. Though they can't be all that kind if they're going to let us suffer in here. You'd think they could at least have put us up in a nicer room. I'm not expecting first-class accommodations, but you deserve better than this, Micah. The place isn't fit for rats, let alone people. It's all right. Are you being serious? Henny raised an eyebrow, while Micah smiled. It's better than being dead, at least, even if these lodgings are a mite uncomfortable. Only a mite? Well, quite a bit, if I'm being honest. Micah drew her arms about her legs, her knees beneath her chin, and said, When I woke up, I was lying on the floor. On the floor? Henny's eyebrows shot up her forehead until they met her hairline. The gesture was so exaggerated it managed to bring another smile to Micah's lips, despite how very dire their situation was. I suppose it makes sense, there being only one mad, but oh. one bit, but oh, that is too much. I can't believe they'd fling you about like a sack of spuds. Many unbelievable things have happened tonight. A benefactor must have been bucking the trend. Some benefactor. I get my hands all on them? I'll give them what for? Don't, Henny. Wouldn't do to pick a fight with whomever brought us here. Wouldn't want to anger them, not when we're at their mercy. But, well, that makes us sound like captives. Is that not what we are? In this cell, after all. This is a cell, after all, and we have no means of escaping. We're being treated like prisoners. I know, but it still stings. Wait. Oh no. I don't care about me, but I don't want to see you being treated like a convict. Not when you've been through so much. You've been through worse. At least I don't remember what happened, unlike you. And you're the one who'll be saddled with the consequences, poor Micah. It was your parents, not mine, who were, well, I don't expect there's much point in trying to suss out who's suffering more than who. As it stands, we're both in this together. I won't abandon you, Micah. So try not to worry. Keep your chin up. We'll get through this. Thank you, honey. I almost believe it coming from you. You should. I won't say things I don't mean, you know. Now, let's see. Maybe things aren't as dire as they look. There could be a way to escape yet. Henny rose to her feet, though unsteadily, and did a circuit of the cell. The shadows made it seem larger than it was, for they obscured the walls, but it did not take Henny many steps to canvass the full length of the dingy room. She pressed her fingertips to the walls, then her ear, as though the stonework might whisper their weakness to her. But the walls, of course, remained mute. Henny then took the bars between her fingers and squeezed experimentally, but they refused to yield. Oh, come on! Frustrated, Henny gave the bars a kick. The tip of her shoe collided with them, losing clods of dirt from her soles, but... Damn it all! The bars refused to budge. They were quite impenetrable. Well, yeah, they're probably iron. Or steel. Sighing, Henny changed tack. She moved from the door to glance up at the window, but this was similarly barred, too high up to reach and much too small to squeeze through. It almost seemed like a miracle that such a small window allowed any moonlight at all to spill into the cell when the clouds and the fog shifted. And? Micah asked when a disenchanted Henny flopped back down beside her with the rustle of her skirts. Did you uncover anything? Nah, Fall said there was more trapped than I thought. I thought you might have come to that conclusion, yes. God! Henny kicked off her right shoe, then began to massage her feet, which had begun to throb. It's a rum situation. I wonder what we're to do. I don't think there's much we can do other than wait. I suppose you're right. I can't say I like the thought of that, though. We're sitting ducks here. Well, considering the vampire on the page has white hair, and Micah is a redhead, and that's the other person on the page / cover art, probably Micah will become a vampire. But maybe Henny will become a vampire and will be able to eat people. I feel we ought to be taking some kind of action. Why not both, indeed? Henny looked about the cell once more and sighed. But I'm drawing a blank here. I can't think of anything we could do. Sorry for being so hopeless, Micah. I meant to look after you, but I'm a total loss. Don't apologize, dear Henny. Feel better simply being with you. That's something, at least. I wish I could be of some real use, though. Well, of real use. Without you, I'd be an uncomfortable mess. Weeping on the floor. Well, we can't be having that. It breaks my heart to see you cry. Much as it breaks mine to see you self-flagellate so, for something that is not your fault. Touché. Oh, we're well and truly stuck here. I suppose we ought to make the best of it, although I have a bad feeling about this place. Gives me the creeps. It's a dungeon! I don't know who imprisoned us here or what cause. They have no manners to speak of. Why, it's almost as if... Henny began, but she found herself unable to finish the sentence. Sound issued forth from darkness, emitting from beyond their tightly sealed cell. It was a faint sound, but Henny still heard it hovering in the sour and musty air. It sounded like a scream. Good God! What in the world was that? Scream. I suppose that was just the wind. Do you really think so? Yes, I imagine. Micah answered in the affirmative, though deep down both she and Henny knew the truth. That had not been the wind, been too raw, too pained, and, though faint, unmistakably human. I'm sure it was a good scream. Is this somebody playing a horror game or something? Really not torture. With no obvious way of escape and very little to do, Micah and Henny had no choice but to idle their time away. They sat upon the floor together with their legs folded primly, like two little girls conducting a make-believe tea party. Henny had, at first, balked at the thought of her mistress sitting on the stone like a plebeian, but Micah's dress was already so dirty it didn't matter. The two women did not, however, abandon themselves to inertia. Henny knew they had to do something to take their minds off their ghastly predicament. Fortunately, Henny was not empty-handed. She had in her pocket, alongside the kerchief she had used to wipe Micah's cheek, a pack of cards. His cards were worn and bent at the corners, but they remained perfectly functional. Personally, I'd go sit on the cot. Probably more comfortable than a stone floor. Want of a better way to use their time, Henny proposed to Micah a game of Joker, a game which Micah agreed to. The two women played several rounds of Joker, examining their decks and dispensing of cards. The game did not require a great degree of tactical thinking, but it helped alleviate some of Micah's worries. It could not, alas, alleviate the cold, but Micah had been shivering for so long she had almost grown accustomed to it. She had been in the dank, miserable cell for so long she could scarcely remember how it even felt to be warm. Had her journey to Augsburg continued unimpeded, she would now be sitting by the fire in Walter Gerhardt's living room, or else tucked up in one of his many guest bedrooms with a warming pan at her feet. Both Augsburg and Walter Gerhardt seemed very far away to Micah now, though being confined thus in a prison cell. How long had she been sitting with Henny on the floor, shivering? Micah does not know. She could not tell. All Micah really knew, in her infinite ignorance, was that the night seemed hopelessly long, she hopelessly small and insignificant. There was no clock in Micah's cell, and neither she nor Henny carried timepieces upon them. The only means Micah had of tracking the advancement of the hour was the sliver of sky she could see beyond the narrow window, situated high above her head. She could recall that the sky had been dark upon her waking, and it remained so now, 3 games of Joker later. The moon, which emerged from the fog at irregular intervals, shone its pallid light upon Micah's head and upon her hand of cards, lighting her Joker and his wide, rictus grin. Micah had never much cared for the Joker and Henny's trusty pack of cards. His expression unnerved her. I swear, if the demo ends before we see the vampire, I'm gonna be like, Madge. It better not. Every once in a while, as she played, Micah spared a few glances at the barred window above her head. Though she could not guess the hour, she knew it was late. Could have been an advanced hour of the night, or could have been, by the same token, the very, very early hours of the following morning. The calendar might have shifted already from one day to the next, but Micah was none the wiser. The sky was so dark, Micah found it hard to believe the sun would ever rise again. The darkness which abounded within her cell was so complete it seemed to have blotted out the very concept of the morning altogether. She feared she would never again see the sun's golden rays, never again hear the twittering of the starlings in the trees, which announced a brand new day. When did the birds begin to chirp beyond her bedroom window, anyway? Micah could not recall, but she thought it must have been around 6 in the morning. Micah had gone to bed at 10 every night, like a dutiful daughter ought, but she had often found it hard to sleep for a full, unbroken 8 hours. Same! She'd arise at odd hours, at 1 or 2 or 3, her head full of thoughts, and often she found it hard to sleep again. When this occurred, Micah would rise from her bed to sit by her windowsill, her forehead in the summer pressed to the glass. That always helped cool her, and her errant thoughts alongside it. Oh, how her mind raced. This is ridiculous, Henny groused, all while examining her cards. We ought to be at Herr Gerhardt's right now, safe as houses. We weren't so very far from Augsburg, at least I don't think we were when we were attacked. Why did those bandits have to go after us? We were just unfortunate, I suppose. I can't imagine the bandits meant specifically to target us. We just happened to be there. You're probably right, but... goodness. All the awful luck. At least you've had a fair run during our game. Feeding me out soundly during every single hand. Well, true. Oh. It's fun. Suppose I should thank heaven for small miracles, eh? Henny smiled at Micah's attempt to cheer her up, but it didn't last. Both Henny's smile and Micah's cheer were half-hearted, and they were soon swallowed by the sinister darkness of their cell. It's a shame I don't feel more thankful. Wonder what Herr Gerhardt would make of this. Be off his head, I'm sure, if he knew the state you're being kept in, Micah. I think sometimes I'm just not paying attention to who's talking. I'm enraged too, for you and him. You deserve far better than this. You're a Von Essen, for crying out loud. The person who's holding us here will feel mighty sorry when they realize who you are. You're a real lady. Maybe. Micah's reply was vague in both tone and meaning. Not even Micah herself was sure whether she meant to disparage Henny's optimistic assertions that her being a lady would grant her any favor with her captor, or whether she meant to challenge the notion she was a lady at all. Micah had been born to a noble family, it was true, with a lineage which could be traced back centuries, but the Von Essens were not what they had been. Half a century of poor financial decisions and a grandfather with a compulsive gambling addiction had led to the squandering of much of the Von Essens' wealth. While still in possession of their family home and a veritable fleet of maidservants, the family's finances had been in a dire state ever since Micah could remember. Though not openly wanting for cash, Micah's parents made a good many purchases based on their family's prestige rather than the figures in their bank account. Micah's wedding to Herr Gerhard had been an attempt to shore up the family's wealth before they could fall from grace altogether, but that now seemed an impossibility. How could Micah wed Walter when she was incarcerated? Micah had loved Walter. She surely would have shed tears over so cruel a fate. As it was, however, she was curiously calm. What did she care how Walter Gerhardt felt? She barely knew him. Well, not to worry. Herr Gerhardt must be sitting in his drawing room now, wondering where the blazes we are. Herr Gerhardt is sure to send out a search party before long. He'll be worried sick about me and Micah. Do you really think so? Absolutely. I mean, he is your fiancé. He's got to be worried. You're such a sweet thing. I don't see how he couldn't. Thank you, Henny. I appreciate it. Don't thank me, Micah. I'm just stating the facts. If I was a man and I had a fiancé like you, you can bet that I wouldn't let you out of my sight. Perhaps it's a good thing that I'm in here with you, then. You at least know I'm right. Yes, you are. Oh. I'm in here with you. You at least know I'm alright. Yes, you are, and I thank heaven on high for it. No, I'd do anything to keep you safe, Micah. I know. Micah could well believe that, coming from Henny. When it came to Henny's claims about Walter, however, Micah was less certain. What did she know about Walter, really, other than his age and his occupation and how fabulously, excessively wealthy he was? Damn, we don't get to see his hair! It's like a little streak. Like, right there. Little bit of hair, I think. He looks fancy, though. Mike had met Walter only on 3 past occasions, and they'd exchanged almost as many words. The man was a stranger to her. Micah's desire to marry him was inversely proportional with her parents' desire to see her walking down the aisle. Micah had been dreading her visit to Augsburg for well over a month. Now it had been terminated. She felt a perverse sort of relief. He looks fancy. Part of Micah had even begun to wonder whether the bandits' attack had brought with it some good, alongside all the bad. But that, Micah chastised herself, was hopelessly cruel. Were her parents' lives truly worth that little to her? It was true enough that she may never see Walter Gerhardt again, but she would never see her mother nor her father again either. It's not a fair trade, not by any stretch of the imagination. How could she ever have thought of such a thing? She really must have been wicked. Is that why she had found herself in such a dire situation? Perhaps this was God's way of punishing her for being a poor daughter, and a sinner who spent too much of her time lost in daydreams, imagining things which could never and would never be. Micah and Henny sat in their cell for what could have been minutes or hours or even days, whiling away the time. By God, there was so much time. Continued, unending, incessant games of Joker. Micah's heart was not in the game, her head being otherwise occupied, and Henny trounced her soundly, 12-1. Henny was better than Micah at card games in general, so this came as little surprise. Micah was accustomed to losing, and accepted her failures with good grace. There are more important things in life than card games. And in any event, Micah was glad to be rid of the eerily grinning jokers in her deck. Little of note happened during these dead, empty hours. Micah had begun to wonder, in a detached way, as Henny launched into their 14th round of Joker, whether they would ever meet their rescuer. Perhaps whoever had hauled them from the forest had done so, not as an act of kindness, but as a means of prolonging their suffering. Maybe they meant to keep them all locked in the cell, alone, until time itself slowed to a trickle, then ceased, the squalid stone walls tumbling down about them, to crush their emaciated corpses on the debris. Dark! One time, when I was, on a plane, and I was bored, I just pulled out my phone and started playing solitaire on my phone. That's what you do when you're bored. But soon, shockingly soon, or so it seemed, despite all the interminable waiting, Micah found her hypothesis proved wrong. She could hear, above the sound of Henny shuffling the deck, a sound. Footsteps. The footsteps were quiet enough at first that Micah wondered whether she had imagined them, but as the seconds elapsed, they became louder still, until even Henny heard them. Goodness me. Henny fumbled with the cards and threw them down, red hearts and black spades split across the stone. Can you hear that, Micah? Yes, I can. Somebody must be coming. A rescuer from the woods, do you think? It could be a rescuer, yes, but maybe... Micah chose not to finish this thought. Saliva felt too thick in her throat, like tar, and she shivered. She didn't want to extinguish the hope which she could see flickering now in Henny's eyes. That would have been cruel. Henny's head swiveled to the grated iron door, excitable as a puppy and wide-eyed. She peered through the shadows. It's a turn for the better. I was beginning to worry they'd forgotten all about us. Watch, it's been like an hour since they woke up. Can't wait to come face to face with them. I'll be sure to tell them exactly what I think about their so-called hospitality. It's done that once before, Henny, and I wish you wouldn't. I don't want to anger them. Oh, stuff and nonsense. I'm sure it will be fine. If they wanted to harm us, they have plenty of chances to do it already, surely. That is true, but... Footsteps drew closer still, echoing about the stone walls, echoing inside Micah's skull. The footsteps could represent only two things. They would mean salvation, if they were lucky, but Micah found it difficult to believe this. Neither she nor Henny had been very lucky that night, despite Henny's continued winning hands in Joker. It seemed far more likely that these footsteps would bring about yet more suffering. And sure enough. Well, 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 would you look what the cat dragged in? The voice that cut through Micah's musings was a proud, haughty one, the syllables polished to perfection like cut glass. The voice belonged quite obviously to a woman, and, given her pronunciation, she must have been well bred. Perhaps the rescuer was a lady, then, a bonne such and such like Micah, from a family whose ancestral home was vast and old and grand enough to have its very own dungeon. Where most nobility used their subterranean storage spaces for wine cellars, this family seemed to prefer taking prisoners. The thought did not fill Micah with much confidence about her mysterious rescuer. Anxiously, she glanced up to meet the source of said voice, and when she did... Oh! Micah could not help but gasp in surprise. The owner of the voice, who now stood upon the opposite side of the cell's door, was not at all what Micah had imagined. She was shorter than Micah had expected, shorter than Micah herself, who was dwarfed by her wealthier, significantly older fiancé. Slender with it, her cheekbones high, her neck not dissimilar to the stem of a flower. Her skin was frighteningly pale, like that of a corpse, and beneath her eyes Micah could see dark rings similar to those she often sported during the long nights at her bedroom window, unable to sleep. OMG, it's Alcavict! Wait, she doesn't have purple streaks. Never mind, it's not Vic. Same though, Crimson. The woman, or was she a girl, had hair so fair it was almost white. It almost seemed to glow in the moon's light. Her hair was not worn in a chignon, but instead was loose. It tumbled about her shoulders in waves, all disarrayed, in a manner which would make Micah's mother swoon from the sheer impropriety of it all. The girl's appearance, but was she a girl, was striking, not only because of her indeterminable age, but because of her eyes, which were widely spaced and fringed with the most luxurious of lashes. Her makeup game is on point. Her irises were not brown like Henny's, nor blue like Micah's. They were not green, nor hazel, nor gray, nor any of the other shades Micah had seen in the faces of her family servants. Hints at the boutiques which her father took her to, or her mother took her to, congregation at her local parish. Her irises were, instead, bright red, so much so they bordered on the visceral. Look, being short and skinny doesn't mean she's not, like, 25. Some people are just short. And skinny. I'm only one of those things, and it's not skinny. Squeesh. His lovely irises were even redder than the blood which had seeped from Micah's sliced cheek. It seemed to be full of violence. Ooh. The girl was a perfect stranger to Micah, but her eyes told more than pleasant chit-chat ever could. She was not normal. Micah knew instinctively as she gazed upon her that she should keep her distance if she could. But this only made her, conversely, feel even more enchanted. She could not look away from her. It's as though her captor had placed her under a spell. That woman... Henny shifted back, her skirts shifting against the ground. She's the one I told you about, Micah. The one in the woods. She's the one who fought off those bandits. I thought what I saw was unbelievable, but now I know it wasn't a dream. She really is real. She killed all those men. She's a monster. They murdered her parents right in front of you. It's fine. Oh, a monster, am I? The woman's unnatural eyes narrowed and, with a smile, said, You cut me to the quick, you humans do. At least you would. We're not so accustomed to it. Perhaps I bring it upon myself, given the unusual manner in which I treat my guests. but you could at least try to be polite. Why, if it were not for me, the both of you would be lying in the woods right now, mangled beyond all recognition. So you really were the one who saved us. Thought as much. Wasn't a face anybody could forget in a hurry. Why, thank you. I will take that as a compliment. I am very striking, I know. Why'd you save us, though? And how? Can't believe you brought us back here. Wherever here is on your own. You must have had help. Oh, if only. But alas, I've not had any help for, well, let's see. Must have been a century at least. A century? Henny gawked at the woman, her eyes agog. That would make you older than my grandmother. That can't be right. You don't look a day over 18. Oh, do you really think so? You're too kind. Laughing softly, the woman extricated a key from her pocket, then inserted it into the awaiting keyhole. Deftly she turned it, and deftly she stepped inside the cell, the hem of her dark cape dragging against the uneven stone floor. Once inside the cell, she turned to close the door, then locked it anew. There, that ought to do it. It'd be horribly tedious if you tried to run from me. I would be able to catch you, of course, but I'd rather not bother with all the fuss. Yeah. I don't know if saves carry over outside of the demo. The door secured, the woman placed the key inside her pocket and turned to look at her prisoners. Well, she is a vampire. Her red eyes met Micah's, which were narrowed with mistrust, and pouting, she said, Now, why are you looking at me like that? You're making me feel quite unwelcome. Thought you'd be relieved to see my face after being left to languish in the catacombs of my castle for hours on end. But maybe I was hoping for too much. In any case, you shouldn't frown like that, dear. It's an awful waste. You'll wrinkle your pretty face. The chastisement was familiar to Micah. She had heard it many times from her mother. Micah had been trained to obey her mother without question, however. It was not so with this strange woman. Some of her reticence fell away, and, needled, Micah said, What I do with my face is my own concern. Sure, it's none of your business. My goodness. You're feistier than you look. I took you for a shrinking violet, but maybe I was mistaken. You might make for quite the amusing plaything, though you'd be a good sight prettier if you smiled. Stop telling women to smile. They don't like it. I can't say I blame you for being so surly, though. I never liked smiling on command either. Though it's been many, many years since anybody last tried to give me orders. It's fortunate nobody can tell me what to do now, at least. Came at quite the price, but... Oh well, never mind. Where are my manners? My name is Magdalena, but you may call me Lena. My family's name, meanwhile, is of no particular importance. Might have commanded some respect back in the day, but it is not so now. They've long since been obliterated. I doubt history will remember them. Would not wish to. I am all that is left of their legacy. In fact, I would very much love to rub in their faces, but alas, I never got the chance. Look, you can smile all you want, but don't tell me to smile. It'll just make me frown more. Besides, I have resting bitch face, and I will not change that. It will not be changed. It's too powerful. It's very nice to meet you for the second time this night. So saying, Magdalena dropped a neat curtsy, taking hold of her cape in lieu of a skirt. But I am afraid I will not be afforded much of a chance to properly know you. While I would relish the chance to speak to a couple of young maidens such as yourselves, I have designs for you beyond idle chatter. And what do you mean by that, exactly? Only that now I have brought you here, I cannot continue to let you live. I've already seen too much. What? Henny stared at Magdalena with wide eyes, so full of fear the air swelled with it. What do you mean? What I said. Do try to keep up. It's awfully tedious having to explain myself down to the finer details. Well, then why did you bring them here? You could have just let them bleed out in the woods after you killed those bandits. Nah, she probably saw Micah and was like, damn, a hot redhead. Need that in my life. But I suppose you have the right to know the bare minimum, prisoner though you may be. I would hate to keep you in suspense, but at this point it doesn't matter how much you know. You won't be able to tell anybody else what you might learn here. Not be venturing forth beyond the walls of my castle ever again. Magdalena smiled, her lips lifting in a wicked grin, not so very unlike that of the Joker in Henny's pack of cards. Though Magdalena's face was white, her lips were red, much like her eyes. They stood out in her milky face, like a rose blooming despite the winter's chill. Or else, Micah thought with a shudder, freshly spilt blood. You must understand that I am not a normal woman. No human can hope to pass me when it comes to a competition of sheer strength, as the bandits who were pursuing you soon discovered. Didn't take me more than a few seconds to dispatch them. The fight they put up was so pathetic, it makes me wonder why they even bothered. If they'd any respect for my time, they would have slit their own throats with their daggers and saved me the trouble. You humans can be awfully thoughtless. But if they had done that, I wouldn't have been able to bring the leader of their little group back to my castle. It was in a bad way, and I was obliged to introduce myself to him before bestowing upon you similar honors. I really must apologize for making you wait. Magdalena dropped into the curtsy, as an elegant lady might, but it smacked of insincerity. How many men and women had Magdalena brought to her castle, and how many had she summarily tortured? Micah knew of at least one, besides herself and Henny. Bandit's leader. Did you kill him? Eventually, yes. It was quite the sight. You ought to have seen the way he begged and pleaded and groveled at my feet. Grown man like that, who was practically made of muscle. Oh, how fickle fortune is. Just 1 hour hence he was a predator, stalking his prey through the woods, and the next. Magdalena drew a hand across her neck in the unequivocal universal gesture of a slit throat. Well, what goes around comes around. He got what he deserved, and his screams really were exquisite. Did you perchance happen to hear them? He was being rather loud. What, you, oh, how goodness. Surprised, are you? You shouldn't be. The man was a bandit, a vulture in a man's flesh, who profited on misery. If it weren't for me, you would have gone the same way as the poor unfortunate in that stalled carriage. The driver and the horses, too. Nobody was spared their ravages, man or beast. I'm surprised they didn't steal the horses. They probably weren't bandits. I made quite the grisly mess. Were I a century younger, it would have been enough to turn even my stomach. Maybe that is so, but to gloat over another step like that doesn't seem right. You're twisted. I'm twisted, that is only because of this world. Magdalena began, but then paused. A momentary furrow captured her brow. Soon it straightened out, as though nothing of note had occurred. Oh, never mind that. I do not wish to spout cliches about good and evil. I would begin to bore myself. The fact of the matter is, man got what he deserved, as did his compatriots. I took great pains to ensure that. I paid that brigand back twofold for what he did to you. Did you know that he tried to be stoic in the beginning? Humans often are, human males in particular. There's so much pride. It's funny, really, that a cur like that would care so much about appearances. He was less a man than he was a dog, but he still had pretensions of greatness or of grandeur. I soon stripped him of those lofty delusions, however. Humans are very alike in one regard, at least. You all scream the same after your bones have been broken. Do you all bleed red? The man was a brigand, I'll grant you that. Serve the hangman's noose, but that's for a court of law to decide, not you. Not you. What you did isn't just it. It's barbaric. Shouldn't be taking pleasure in other people's deaths. Henning, if there's anything I've learned since reaching adulthood, it's the courts can be very useless. Just saying. What gave you the right to kill him anyway? I had every right to kill him. He was trespassing upon my land, as were you and the young lady here. His life was forfeit the moment he encroached upon my territory. Lord's Prayer may say that we ought to forgive those who wrong us, but I've no patience with such teachings. They do not apply to me. The Lord has forsaken me. I am no longer a member of his congregation. He would have no love for me as I am now, and I have little love for him. I cannot conceive how he could have let me suffer so, if he truly existed. Sometimes I do wonder. Very good argument for atheism. So you mean to add blasphemy to your list of crimes? Oh, I've done far, far worse than that in my time. The morals of you good, sententious churchgoers do not apply to me. I am not of your kind. I am a drinker of blood who walks the night. I have been alive for over a century, though my life is very different to yours and your mistress's. I doubt that you could understand me, and neither do I want you to. I have no desire to understand you, either. There would be no point. We are much too different. Drinker of blood? But that would make you a vampire? It was Micah who offered forth the saber, after Honey's voice faltered. Oh, a vampire? Oh my god. Micah was an ardent devourer of books, and she had read before of such shadowy denizens of the night, much to her mother's chagrin. Lady Von Essen had thought that Micah, as a well-bred young woman, ought not to read at all. It will only excite your mind, dear, but should instead busy herself with embroidery. Micah, however, had always preferred books to busy work, particularly work with involved needles. She found herself returning to stories time and time again, whenever she needed a break from her own dreary life. Micah had read all manner of books over the years, but she preferred adventure stories full of mystery, intrigue, and, yes, even murder. Micah knew from her reading that vampires were nocturnal creatures, often aristocratic. They shunned the sunlight, dwelt in ruinous castles, set upon the lifeblood of fair maidens. No, that's not true. The only reason Count Dracula lived in a castle is because he was a count. If you became a vampire, you would probably live in an apartment with blackout curtains. Yes, Micah thought, in an oddly detached manner. That did make sense. She had sensed there was something strange about Magdalena when their eyes had first met. Magdalena really must have been a vampire. It all made sense, at least it would have, had Micah been a heroine in one of her novels. But life, Micah reminded herself, was not akin to a story. Micah might have consumed books like a starving man, but she had enough sense to know that the words written within the pages of adventure stories were all skeins of fiction. Skeins? Skeins? I don't know. That's a word to learn the pronunciation of another day. Vampires ought to have remained within the realms of make-believe. They had no business walking around as humans did, made of cold, unfeeling flesh with hearts which no longer beat. They were supposed to be constructs, mere figments of fancy. But Magdalena was undoubtedly real, and, unsettling though she was, Micah did not take her for a liar. Yes, that is correct. I am a vampire, and this castle's my territory. It and the woods that surround you. You wandered into my domain, you hopeless little lambs, on the run from those awful bandits. I know none of this is your fault, and I've no quibbles with you. I'm not blaming you for what occurred tonight. There. See how fair I am? I'm too nice by half, too nice for my own good cause. You've been awfully surly with me, the both of you, but I've only ever been polite. I would have even let you go if I could. Spatting of brigands is one thing, but I take no pleasure in harming young ladies. Well, I fear that would be foolhardy. Cannot allow anybody who's wandered into my realm to leave alive. I do not want you telling tall tales. Well, then you shouldn't have kidnapped them. You should have dropped them off by the road while they were unconscious. It's not both of your necks and be done with it, but... Magdalena's red eyes found Micah's, then held them. Her smile, which hitherto had seemed so easy, faded as she frowned. You don't seem to be a mere peasant. I can tell from your clothes, dirty though they are, that you are from a wealthy background. Your voice and your bearing. Yes, even the way you look at me. It all suggests that you are, in fact, a lady. Would I be correct in that assessment? Why do you ask? It would be problematic for me if I were to dispatch a woman of renown. I would not want your disappearance to catch the attention of men in high places. If they were to send out a search party in these woods, it's not wholly impossible that they would stumble upon my home. I've lived out of sight from the public for nigh on a century, and I have no desire to invite half of Augsburg Constabulary into my home. The idea is incredibly unpleasant. Magdalena pulled a face, a small child might when confronted with a plate of food they did not much care for. If you really are a lady, I might do well to exercise some caution. Suppose I can always spare your life and kill only the stouty common girl. Your maid, I take it? Magdalena looked to Henny now, her lips curled into a mean smile. What do you say to that? It's not a bad trade, is it? Her life or yours? Precious few people who find themselves in my abode are able to live to tell the tale. You would be one, and goodness, how many guests have I had over the years? It must be a good 200 or 300. Too touched by my thoughtfulness. Silence descended, and the decrepit cell following Magdalena's announcement. Stuck for words, Micah could only stare at her, her lips parted. What was she to say to Magdalena's proposal? How was she to feel? There was relief, certainly, at the prospect of escaping the cell, but Micah could take no real pleasure in it, not when it would come at the cost of Henny's life. How could she abandon her friend who had been by her side since her early childhood? Were it not for Henny, Micah knew she would be dead already, but her like a farmyard animal in her parents' carriage. Henny had rescued her once already. It seemed unconscionable that she should leave her now. Micah turned this over in her mind, worrying her teeth with her lower lip, then... Well, if my life's all you're after... Henny reached out, taking Micah's hand between her own, then said, What else is there to think about? It sounds like a fine suggestion to me. Don't you agree, Micah? Oh my god, knees! She's not wearing proper length skirts! Scandalous! What? Micah stared into Henny's round, soft face, her eyes vast and uncomprehending. Surely you don't mean that. You're not alright with this. Are you, Henny? Well, I'd be a lie if I said I was jumping up and down for joy at the prospect of being eaten by a vampire. Henny's smile wavered, though she tried to maintain a brave face. But if it's what I've got to do to save your life, Micah, then I'll do it. I do love you, after all. I'm not going to let you get hurt. Henny tried to sound brave, but Micah could hear how her voice trembled all the same. Could feel, too, how Henny's hands shook. Henny, like her, had heard the screams of the bandit's leader as they echoed through the halls. Though neither woman had seen his final moments, they knew from his cries that his demise must have been barbarous. Micah could not allow Henny to endure such suffering for her sake. She could not allow her to die. Micah knew Henny wished only for the best for her, but... No. Micah spoke up, her voice surprisingly cool, given the wild fluctuations of her heart within her breast. I won't allow that to happen. It wouldn't be right. One of us must remain here, then it ought to be me. What? No, you can't mean that, Micah. Surely you jest. No, I'm not. You know I have a terrible sense of humor, Henny. Hardly ever tell jokes. I don't even have enough levity in me for them. I'm being very serious. Always looked out for me ever since I was small. Not that I always listened to you. Don't you remember when I stole the keys to the mausoleum in my insufferable curiosity and crept inside? But of course I remember. Dragged me in after you despite my warnings. Went about as badly as expected, too. Didn't it just? Faintly, Micah smiled, dire though their situation was, happy to share this memory with Henny. For all she knew, it might very well have been her last chance to reminisce with her maid like this. Micah knew not what the future held, but... Lady Von Essen was in such an awful mood when she found out. It was quite frightening. I'd never seen anything like it. Oh yes, she was fearfully cross. It's a wonder fire didn't come out of her nostrils. Recall that she struck you. And then, when I tried to argue on your behalf, she struck me too. Struck me so hard, my ears still ring from it sometimes. God, yes, poor Hen. Felt awful about it at the time. Really, I did. Didn't care about my punishment. God knows I deserved it, but you'd done nothing wrong. You'd been perfectly reasonable about the whole thing. If I'd listened to you, we could have avoided the furor altogether. But I was too reckless. I ignored your wishes, but you still tried to protect me. You jumped to my defense, just like a knight. You were sapped silly for your troubles. It was horribly unfair. I've dragged you into all sorts of messes before, and you've always come to my defense. You've been a wonderful friend to me throughout the years. I can't keep relying on you. You're just saying that because you want the vampire lady to smack you. I don't want to take advantage of your kindness. But Micah, I like it when you rely on me. Please feel free to take advantage. That's what I'm here for. No, I can't. It isn't right. It's long past time that I repaid you. By offering yourself up as a sacrifice in my stead. That isn't what I want. Micah, please. I'm judging you. I'm judging you all. And he stared at her mistress, her wide eyes entreating. I love you, but you're acting like a crazy woman. You're the pinnacle of rationality, are you? And you're the pinnacle of rationality, are you? Considering this crazy deal? That is truly insane. Don't tell me you've accepted all this. Why is that Eminem got facial hair? Of course I've not accepted it. Terrified, really. How my poor hands are shaking. One of us is biting it. But one of us biting it has to be better than both of us. If I can protect you, then I must. I will. That's my job. What isn't? Not any longer. Absolving you of your duty, Henny. This farce has lasted long enough. What farce? You know what I mean. Magdalena. Yes, have you quite finished with your little quarrel? I must confess I was beginning to feel rather left out. My apologies. I'll never not be so rude in the future to my hostess. Micah dipped her head in a gesture of esteem, one not so very dissimilar to the way Henny was bidden to bob around her mother. Micah knew she could not afford to anger Magdalena. Micah was to save Henny, she would be obliged to beg and bow and scrape. Fortunately, begging and bowing were not beyond Micah's means. Even though she was a lady, she was no stranger to scraping either, having tearfully entreated her parents to reconsider her marriage prospects. She had failed on that score, but she didn't intend to fail now. She knew what she must say. It seemed a stretch that Magdalena would believe her, but if she did... I fear you are laboring under a misapprehension, Lady Magdalena. Your reasoning is sound. There would, indeed, be a ruckus if a noble woman was to go missing, but your application is not. I'm not a lady, you see. My companion is. Oh? Magdalena raised an eyebrow. Then you mean to say you are the maid, and this lumpen Henny here is the mistress? Don't call her lumpen! She is cute and round and squishy. Rude. Rude. That is correct, yes. I know I'm dressed as a lady, albeit a disgraced one. That was part of Lord and Lady Von Essen's ruse. Traveling, they often have me dressed as a lady, while Henny, that is to say, Henrique, dressed as a maid. She's so adorable! It is a means of subterfuge so that, if I cared her to be attacked by bandits, I'm the one who would be in harm's way, rather than my mistress. A truly desperate bandit would rummage through the pockets of a maid, especially when she's with her lady. What? Micah, that's... Henny began, but Micah cut her off. She was warming to her broods, and she found she could not still her tongue. not until she had delivered her whole address. Lady Henrique is the one who will be missed in Augsburg, not I. She had a fiancé waiting for her, you know. He's a very important man. If she doesn't arrive before the dawning of the next day, he will be certain to send out a search party for her. You would not want that, would you? Magdalena pondered Micah's tall tale for a few moments, one gloved hand resting upon her hip. As she thought, Micah stared at her, compelling her through sheer force of will to accept her tale at face value. Micah knew her story was patently unbelievable, but she didn't need to convince a whole jury. She needed only to convince Magdalena. An age seemed to pass, during which nobody spoke, until... Oh, very well. That is how it is, then I suppose I have no choice. You may leave my abode, Lady Henrique. Here Magdalena dropped another effusive curtsy. If that is indeed your real name, I will grant you the chance to reunite with your fiancé in Augsburg. Must be awaiting you with no shortage of anticipation. Who wouldn't, after all, wish to dote upon a maiden as fair and fine as yourself? That's right, bitch! Surprisingly well-spoken maid, however, will be bidden to remain by my side. Do we have a deal? Yes, I would do anything to ensure Lady Henrique's safety. Oh, most assuredly, you would not consent to acting as a decoy on her behalf if you didn't care. What a wonderful friendship you women have. It is quite special, really, particularly given the disparity in your social statuses. Now come along, Lady Henrique. It was very lovely to make your acquaintance, but now I fear I must cut our meeting short. Oh no, did the ads break it? That's right, oh. That's what happens when I don't pay attention and the ads start running. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. BRB. Really. Back to vampires. Ugh. Let me escort you to the front door. It's the least I can do for one of your lofty status. What? Micah, no. Micah, no. Ah, hair. Henny cried, but in vain. Magdalena was soon upon her, pale fingers winding tight about her wrist. Micah, please stop this. Tell her the truth. I'm sorry, Hen, but... Bashed, Micah dropped her gaze to the stone floor. She had given her life for Henny's sake, shown she could not meet her friend's gaze as she was dragged bodily from their cell. The hurt in Henny's countenance and the betrayal stung far too much. This is how it has to be. Says who? I was willing to go along with this woman's plan, but you scuppered it. I don't understand you at all, Micah. Why would you tell such a tissue of lies, and let alone me? Magdalena, please. Henny stared at Magdalena, all while trying, and failing, to dig her heels into the stone floor of her cell. Surely you can't believe my mistress. It's obvious she's lying. There's no way she isn't a lady. Not with her fancy, proper way of talking. She's far more genteel than I could ever dream of being. Her manners are certainly more polished than your own, yes, but perhaps this comes from years of servitude. You could stand to learn a thing or two from your maid, Lady Henrique. Your fiancé won't think much of you as you are now, I'm afraid. Why, you're speaking almost like a fishwife. Now, come along. Let us not argue. You'll give me a headache. But, Micah, I can't leave her. Let me go. Henny cried anew, squirming now, but Magdalena's hold upon her did not loosen. If anything, it seemed to go stronger, to such a degree that Henny screamed. Oh! Henny's cry echoed throughout the cell, more unbearable than those of the bandit's leader during his final moments. Magdalena had not made Henny bleed, at least, but she was gripping her wrist so tightly Micah feared she might snap it. Henny, who was short and dumpy, could put up little in the way of a fight. Poor maid was quite helpless before her. Dumpy! Why are you being rude just because she's plump? Guys are so rude. Fat phobia. It's just mean. There was nothing which could be done, not any longer. Henny would have to leave, while Micah would remain incarcerated in this dreary cell alone. This was what Micah had wanted when she had spun her, frankly, untenable story. So why then did she feel so guilty? Let go of me. Let go, I say. Micah, please. Well, I can't do Henny's voice consistently. Henny continued to protest, but Magdalena remained insensible to her cries. The door of the cell was closed once more with a metallic clang, and Micah was left upon the ground, pale face trembling, and all alone. The time passed at an astonishingly slow pace as Micah sat on the stone floor of her cell, with her legs demurely crossed. Without Henny to cheer her up, the air felt colder than it had before, the shadows darker. Magdalena had taken Henny from the cell so abruptly she hadn't been afforded the chance to collect her scattered playing cards. Now, these cards are strewn upon the floor. Red diamonds, red as Magdalena's eyes, and coal-black clubs. Micah caught the eyes of a nearby joker, his lips pulled into an unsettling smile, and shivered. No, that's spelled right. It's demurely. Demurely. Micah got the eyes of a nearby joker. Oh, I read that. She knew she was being paranoid, but she felt almost as if the card was mocking her. Micah reached out, fingers trembling, to grab the card, then flipped it over. She did not want to look at the joker's grinning face. Look, words are hard, okay? She did not want to think either about what Henny was doing, or how she was feeling. She certainly did not want to think of her own future. It would be easier to drive such musings from her mind, and yet... Though Micah tried to keep her thoughts placid, like the smooth surface of an untroubled lake. Apparently right-click opens the save menu. Sinister queries, sharp-toothed like eels, writhed just beneath the surface. What happened when Magdalena returned? Did she mean to kill Micah quickly, or would she make her supper first? Magdalena had seemed to derive great pleasure from her torture of the bandits' leader, so he had said she did not care to harm young ladies. Had she meant it? Micah could only hope if Magdalena did mean to kill her, she would do so quickly. She had suffered enough for one night. No, for one lifetime. Micah, despite her heroism, did not want to die. The thought terrified her. She imagined how Magdalena might kill her. Blade to the throat, perhaps? Poison, drowning, strangulation. Her skin, which was now icy cold, rippled with goose flesh. She did not want to be stabbed or poisoned or drowned or choked. She wanted to live. Micah had read stories of knights and their exploits, but she was no chivalrous sir herself. She was a young woman, though not, as her mother might have reminded her, so very young anymore. She had little experience of the world beyond her parents' home. From an early age, Micah had been taught to hold her tongue, to hold her thoughts, to be sweet and pretty and patient and, above all else, pliant. She was not supposed to think for herself, let alone stand up for herself. It wasn't appropriate conduct for a lady. Micah had endured 25 years as such, living only to please her parents, and her parents' esteemed visitors, and later her parents' chosen fiancé. But it had not felt like living. The only times Micah felt herself were those when she played cards with Henny, or read her books, or sat up by her window at night and stared out into the garden. Micah was 25, almost 26, but she knew nothing of the world. She knew nothing of freedom. She had never truly lived. How, then, was she supposed to die? She could not pass on, surely, until she had at least been afforded the chance to visit some of the places she had read about in her stories. Such dreams had been all which had kept Micah going throughout her dreary days kept indoors. She had persevered, not for the sake of her present, which she had lamented, but the hopes of a better future, which waited beyond the horizon. Now, Micah feared she would never be able to reach that future. Her life was to be curtailed before it could truly begin. She would never see any of the world now. Paris and Venice and Rome would remain a mystery to her. Exotic setting for stories, and nothing more. I've been to 2 of those places. I haven't been to France. She had been born trapped, and now she would die. The only difference was, it was no longer her parents entrapping her, but a monster. Had her 25 years thus far been a story, Micah thought bitterly, it would have been a hopelessly dull one, full of endless waiting, but precious little doing. Granted, I don't live in Europe, for it would be very easy to go visit Paris. Waiting to live, waiting to die. Is there any difference between these 2 states, really, when all was said and done? Near the end of my college years, my choir, our choir planned a trip to Europe, and we visited Italy and Germany and Austria for a couple weeks. And it rained here the whole time I was gone. Yeah, we flew into Rome, we did a little day trip to Venice, and we drove up to Germany, and then we did a little day trip to Austria, back down to Austria, then a bunch of stuff. And the airline lost my luggage for most of the Italy part of the trip, which was like a week. It was extremely annoying because I had no clothes. I had the clothes I flew in, and I had my choir clothes, and that was it. I had no underwear or bras, no other clothes. Also, it was like May, so it was pretty fucking hot in Rome, and choir clothes were black, but also we were going to be doing singing in churches, and you know what you have to do in churches? Cover your fucking legs and your knees and your shoulders. So it was too hot to wear my choir clothes anyways most of the time because they were warm. It was very annoying. Fucking airlines. They got my suitcase back to me right before we left. Till that point, I was fucking miserable. Anyways. There's no point crying about it. Micah muttered this under her breath in the dark for her own peace of mind. I did get some cute Italian clothes to make up for the fact that I had no clothes. But the underwear was the real problem. I have huge titties, Ratio. I've had huge titties basically since I got titties. And that included when I was like 21, 22. Or whatever. I did not want to be walking around Italian towns and cities without a bra because then my boobs were flopping everywhere. The main issue was the chafing because the choir clothes I had were a skirt. It was like a long skirt with like a slit up to the knee for, you know, ease of movement. But because my thighs are so thick, they rub together a lot and it causes chafing. And I didn't have any stockings to help mitigate that. It was very annoying. Don't understand my suffering. There's no guarantee I would have been allowed to live even if Magdalena did set me free. I would have to return to Gerhard, and we would wed, and I would spend the rest of my days trapped in his house. Go from being a cloistered daughter to a closeted wife. Not any better, really? You said you don't know this man? So how do you know that is the case? Micah's eyes, that would have been nothing but another form of imprisonment. Walter had the money to travel anywhere, but whether he would be willing to expend these funds on little Johns for his housebound, bored wife was doubtful. Perhaps it was better this way. Micah had no life, she knew, waiting for her beyond the walls of Magdalena's castle. She'd never been allowed to live as she wanted. That being the case, she might as well die. She had nothing left to lose. Well, that's some negative thoughts. You shouldn't think that way, ma'am. The minutes passed by, each more intolerable than the last, until Micah was alerted by the sound of footsteps. It's not like there have been any choices so far. It's just straight visual novel, no choices, so it doesn't really matter. The iron door which partitioned the cell from the hall opened with a scraping squeal, and once more Magdalena entered Micah's cell. But Magdalena had left with an unwilling Henny in tow. She was now alone. Henny had gone. Well, well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? How fare you, my dear captive? I do apologize for the wait. Never mind about me, but about Henny. Did you set her free? Goodness me, your loyalty towards your lady is most profound. I was certain you'd be inquiring as to your own fate, but no, you seem only to care for her. You really ought to worry about yourself more, given the circumstances. But I shall endeavor to allay your worries. I did indeed set your mistress free. I escorted her to the entrance of my home, then bid her on her merry way. Why do you ask? Do you not trust me? Done little to deserve it, given the way you've treated Henny and I, but oh, so glad to hear it. I only hope that Henny will be all right on her own. That remains to be seen. I might have set her free, but there's no guarantee she'll be able to find her way to Augsburg. Not in the dark with all this fog. The woods are dense, and the paths are not clearly signposted. Come as no surprise if she were to find herself lost, or else at the mercy of wild animals. This forest is fair teeming with wolves. Did you know that? Wolves? Oh yes, this forest is just as much their territory as it is mine, and they often come out at night to hunt. And it's not the only thing fair ladies have to watch out for. And if your lady friend is resourceful and luck is on her side, she should emerge from this trial unscathed. Let us hope that she'll be alright, shall we? What a bitch! Micah said nothing to this. She instead dropped her gaze, her irises fixed upon her knees. Mind turned, not to her own indeterminate fate, but to Henny, who would now be staggering through the woods, wreathed in ephemeral fog. Micah saw Henny backed against a copse of trees, their branches slender, sinister, as a pack of hungry wolves bore down upon her, their eyes glistening madly in the moonlight. This was only one possibility. Magdalena had said Henny would need luck on her side, and Henny had that in spades if her performance in Joker was anything to be believed. But you said earlier that you guys didn't have any luck tonight, despite Henny winning in cards a bunch. She'd always been better at cards than Micah. Now enough about Lady Henrique. She is no longer my captive, and as such is of little interest to me. I would far rather speak to you. To me? Yes, indeed. I've designs on you, my loyal little servant girl. I do hope you'll make yourself useful during your stay. Designs? Then you mean... Micah pressed her fingers to the base of her throat. She could feel her pulse beating beneath the surface of her cool skin, as erratic as a rabbit's caught in a snare. Do you wish to drain me of my blood? Do you want me to drain you of your blood? Magdalena tittered. How very eager you are. It's not that. Do not misunderstand. I wish only, if you mean to kill me, that we would do so quickly. I'm sick of waiting. Oh yes, that look in your eyes is delectable. Maybe more so even than your blood. So very defiant. But what is this I spy? You appear to be shaking, my poor little Micah. That's because of the cold, and not because of your fright. I was able to protect my dear friend. I have nothing to be afraid of now. Then you care nothing for your own life. Never been afforded a life. You may take it if you wish. You wouldn't be the only one. Ah yes, that is the fate, or so I've heard, of being a servant. You poor dear. Magdalena's red eyes softened, and for a moment Micah wondered whether she could not see a trace of sympathy upon her captor's fair face. It lasted only a second, however, before it faded. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm afraid I can't comply with your request. For the moment, that is. I will drain your blood in due course, but I've no desire to do so now. Bandits I encountered earlier made for a more than satisfactory meal. So glutted, I do not think I could drink another drop of blood. Then you mean to draw this farce out longer still? I'll draw it out for as long as I wish, until I'm sufficiently thirsty. There seems little sense in overindulging. I'm sure that your blood would taste sweeter than a bandit's, but that only makes it more imperative that I save you until I truly want you. Though it was Micah's death Magdalena spoke of, there seemed something sultry, seductive even, in the way she stressed her words. Micah, who was unused to being wanted, found the blood pooling beneath her cheeks, despite the chill which clung to her. How would it feel when Magdalena brought her lips to her neck? Would it hurt? I suppose she would feel a pricking sensation as Magdalena's teeth sank into her flesh, and then... Now, won't you come with me? You'll catch your death of cold staying inside this dreary cell, and then you'll be of no use to anybody. While I'm to enjoy you properly, I would prefer to do so while your body is still warm. What? Micah looked at Magdalena, her blue eyes uncomprehending. Are you really letting me go? In a manner of speaking, yes. They'll only be transporting you from one prison to another. As your hostess, I don't believe that these quarters are wholly appropriate for a long-term stay, especially not for a fair maiden such as yourself. You'll be in my abode for several days yet, I fear, until I've further need of you. Well then, I would like you to live in some measure of comfort. How unexpected. I didn't know that you were so gracious. I can be. I've hidden depths much like the forest that surrounds my humble abode. I do so hate to see you shiver so, and your skin is so pale, poor dear. You and I could almost be sisters. If you guys are gonna smash, you probably shouldn't talk like that. The white skin may be fitting for us vampires, but it isn't so for maidens, not even the fairest in all the land. Now please follow me. I doubt you've any real wish to stay here, languishing. Unless you mean to make a further martyr of yourself. No, Micah bit her lower lip. She was loath to accept kindness from Magdalena, but she did raise a fair point. It was cold in her cell, and miserable alongside it. She remained there overnight. It did not seem impossible that the blood in her veins really might freeze. Micah had already given up on her own life, but she did not want to die as a stray dog, racked with shivers. That is what you want from me, then I've no reason to refuse. How very biddable you are. And words which come from your mouth might be stubborn, or the words. But it seems you've experience when it comes to following orders. Of course I do. I'm a maid, like I said. Yes, so you did. That would explain your servility. Part of me was hoping you might refuse so that I would be bidden to carry you. This is fine, too. It spares me the effort. Shall we? Please, lead the way. Micah dropped Magdalena a curtsy this time, taking her dirty skirts between her fingers, pads of which had turned pink from the cold. Magdalena smiled at this display. For a prisoner, you're awfully cheeky. And turned upon her heel after bidding Micah to follow. Naturally, Micah obeyed. She could see she had little choice in the matter. Magdalena led Micah down a twisting hallway, packed full of cells identical to the one Micah and Henny had been imprisoned in. Micah tried not to peer into these cells as she passed them, but curiosity soon overcame her. She found her head swiveling. She feared, as she stared through the darkness, that she might encounter sights more horrific than she was capable of comprehending. Rusted torture instruments, perhaps, or dead bodies. But it was so very dark in the bowels of Magdalena's home that Micah could scarcely see anything. Not even the moonlight, which spilled intermittently through the barred windows, could fully illuminate the sprawling prison complex. This, Micah supposed, tearing her eyes away from one of the cells as she passed it, was probably a good thing. She had witnessed enough horrors from one night. Magdalena eventually brought Micah to the foot of a staircase, which led up from her subterranean cells. Careful, Magdalena cautioned Micah before they began their ascent. These steps are steep and slippery, too. You feel you may break your neck. Micah had been less nervous. She might have laughed to hear her jailer fuss over her so. Broken neck didn't seem so very cruel a fate when compared to Magdalena's designs upon her. Perhaps it would be quicker to die thus, rather than having her blood drained. At the very least, it would be a swifter demise than freezing in her prison cell. Micah felt little in the way of humor, however. She took the chill banister beneath her right hand and began to climb. She recognized the irony in Magdalena's warning, though only vaguely. Her mouth felt hewn into a permanent line, so carved from stone, her brow furrowed. It seemed unlikely she would ever smile again. The chill of the basement faded as Micah cleared the final step of the twisting staircase to emerge in a spacious hallway lined with arched windows. The hallway was not so very dissimilar in decor to her parents' home, though it was less ornate, no furnishings worn down by old age. It was apparent that Magdalena's home had once been noble, but had clearly fallen to rot and ruin, its heyday long since past. The air on the ground floor smelled almost as rank as that in the dungeon, and every conceivable surface was heaped with inches of dust. There was so much dust, in fact, that Micah could feel it in the air when she inhaled. The dust irritated her eyes and nose and laid heavily, unpleasantly, upon her tongue. Micah swallowed, hoping to void her mouth of the taste of decay, but in vain. The dust was so thick she sneezed, which prompted Magdalena to say, "Bless you." "Thank you," Micah replied, abashed, and then, "I thought you did not care for God or his teachings." "I don't, but I presume that you do. I thought you might appreciate it." "I see. How very thoughtful of you." "I know, for a vampire I'm unusually sensitive." Mute with fatigue, Micah continued to follow Magdalena to the end of the hall, wherein a wooden door was inlaid. Magdalena seized the brass handle and twisted it, then pushed it ajar. It stuck for a few moments, as though unwilling to move, but soon shifted, creaking as it did so. When the door swung back, it was to reveal a vast, spacious room with a ceiling so cavernous, Micah had to crane her neck to see it. A large ornate staircase was set in the center of the room, which rose to the floor above it, the banisters made of wrought iron. This, Micah supposed, must have been the entrance hall. It had clearly been designed to impress, for its vastness was almost dizzying. Magdalena's home, could it really be a castle, was larger even than Micah's, and vast enough to be unnerving. Trapped within this scene of spoilt luxury, Micah felt smaller than ever before. Tiny doll rather than a grown woman, rattling about in a playhouse. The entrance hall must have been fine once, but it showed clear signs of deterioration. The dust was so profuse that it made Micah's eyes water. Several of the stone steps which led upwards were cracked and chipped. A grand piano could be found in one corner of the room, but its lid was shut. Micah doubted it had been played, if it still could be played, in decades. There was a chandelier in the entrance hall, hanging aloft from the high ceiling, but when Micah craned her neck upwards, she could see even in the dark that it was festooned with spider webs. The house might have been grand once, but it was not so now. You no wonder, really, that it still stood. Clearly it was uncared for. "Your servants don't seem to be working very hard." Micah spoke lightly, her voice swallowed by empty air. Perhaps you ought to see to hiring new staff. My mistress would never permit." Micah brought her hand to the banister of the grand staircase and drew it back, wincing. Pads for thumb and index finger were fuzzy with dust. "This." "Oh?" Magdalena, who had already begun to ascend the staircase, turned to look at Micah and smiled. "Are you judging my home, Micah?" "Never to presume to be so rude. I just thought it might feel more homey, that's all, if it were less of a pile." Magdalena laughed, then shook her head. "You're quite right, of course, to judge. Please, judge away to your heart's content. I've never been a fan of this place myself. The scale is too grandiose, even for my liking. My great-grandfather, it was he who had this place built, had more money than sense, and absolutely no taste to back it up. House has no need to be this large. There's land enough for it, and money too, and when a man has land and money, it means he will often think, well, why not? Practicality matters little in the decisions of great men, and neither, to my unending woe, does aesthetic sense. I can believe that. My own father, my master, rather." Micah's face flushed at this gaffe, the tips of her ears turning pink. "I have filled my own residence with pointless baubles. They are all very expensive, but not particularly cohesive. Hardly looked like a museum once he was through with it. Hardly seemed like a place to sit and relax. I was too afraid to spend any measure of time there in case I broke something. And it seems we have something in common. And this place dismal even when my family was alive. We had a legion of maids back then to keep everything spick and span. They kept the dust and the cobwebs at bay, but bless their hearts, but they couldn't combat the loneliness. Now my family is dead and all our maids along with them. I can hardly take on new hires, being what I am, so my home is rather left to go to ruin. I clean when I can, but there's so very much house to clean, and only one of me. It's quite the overwhelming challenge. My attempts at cleaning have fallen quite by the wayside during the last half a century. I hope you can forgive my slovenliness. Oh no, it's fine. I understand. You're too kind. Magdalena's red eyes softened as they had back in the dungeon with something akin to sympathy. But before Micah could ponder this, her jailer turned. Oh, listen to me prattle on. It is most inconsiderate of me, especially when you must be tired. Let us make haste to your broom. Micah followed Magdalena as a puppy might, almost grateful to her for the promise of a room and of a bed. As Magdalena said, she really did feel tired. She was more than ready to lie down beneath warm covers, or even lukewarm covers, and sleep. Anything would have been better than that stone floor upon which she had been lying. Micah yawned, her eyes blossoming with tears anew, while pressing her right hand, fingertips still flecked with dust, instinctively to her mouth. Oh. Half asleep though she was, Micah's senses were alert enough for her to detect a sudden noise. There came through the yawning gulf of the entrance hall a sound not dissimilar to that Micah had heard in the dungeon. It was a scream. Or was it? Micah was unsure. The scream was fainter than the one she had detected in the dungeons. It seemed to emit not from the ground under which the cells lay, but above her head. Was there another person concealed in Magdalena's abode? Somebody other than herself? Was it another captive, kept separate from the rest? Was it Henny? Magdalena... Lena, please. Magdalena is quite the mouthful. I'd rather you use a nickname as you did with your mistress. Micah wished to contest this. Her relationship with Magdalena wasn't close enough to allow the use of nicknames. She felt too tired to engage in an argument. What did it matter, really, how she addressed Magdalena when soon she would be dead? Lena, then, what was that noise I just heard? What noise? You didn't hear it? Micah stared at Magdalena, her expression one of patent disbelief. It wasn't very loud, I'll grant you, but it was unmistakable. I swear it sounded just like a scream. A scream, Magdalena pondered, one hand beneath her chin. That sounded not unheard of in my abode, when I'm attending to a prisoner. Micah shivered. There's nobody here now, except me and you. Nobody living, at least. Then it's not the imprisoned bandit? Certainly not. He'll never make a peep again. I made sure of that with my own two hands. What? It'd be hard for him to speak with half his throat torn out, you see. Oh. Micah pressed a hand to her own throat, as if to check its integrity, and as she did so, choked. The air was so thick with dust it was hard to breathe. Now, dear, worry not. It was not your mistress who screamed thus, that is what you're wondering. I am a woman of my word, and I promise I let her go. She's quite, well, she's not necessarily all right, but she's away from me, and there is a possibility that she might live to see another dawn. Then who screamed? What was that sound? It must have been your imagination. You've overexerted yourself after this night's events. Anybody would be exhausted in your situation. It didn't feel like a dream, though. No? Magdalena shrugged in a manner which did not seem quite in keeping with her aristocratic bearing. I suppose it must have been the wind, then. It is very draughty in here. Is that all? That's all it could have been, unless you mean to suggest that the dead can speak. Magdalena's red eyes bored into Micah's, so intense Micah feared they would consume her. What about the undead? Unsettled, Micah glanced away. No, I wasn't suggesting that. Good. I know it's expected for women to lose their minds at the drop of a hat, but I've grown quite sick of being regarded as the weaker sex. I'm pleased to see you're doing your level best not to let us down. Well, you haven't swooned even once, which is more than most men can say when I bring them here. It's really quite commendable. You might swoon, though, from a lack of sleep if we continue to tarry. Let us be off, or we shall never make it to our destination. Micah nodded, then followed along behind her hostess anew. She could no longer hear the scream, but its memory haunted her all the same. That cry she had heard, though briefly, had not sounded like the breeze, regardless what Magdalena had said. Micah was certain the sound had belonged to a person, but why would Magdalena lie about such a thing? It's impossible to say. Well, yeah, you just met her. Here we are, home sweet home. So, Magdalena looked at Micah, an amused smile playing about her lips. What do you think? Micah examined the room mutely, her hands folded at her front. The chamber Magdalena had brought her to was dark, lit only by a pair of candles on either side of the bed. Micah could see, despite the darkness, that it was every bit as derelict as the rest of Magdalena's home. However, and even if she hadn't been able to see it, she would have been able to smell it. The air was fusty, so it had been left to circulate inside the room for years upon end, which it most likely had. Every surface, meanwhile, was covered in dust. The sheets upon the bed, though neatly made, were holey with age and with insects, as was the carpet upon the floor. It was a sad room which had been ignorant of human occupation for years, but it was still a superior set of lodgings to those in which Micah had woken. At least this room had a bed, more poster one no less, like the one at Micah's home, mattress and sheets, upon which Micah could rest her weary limbs. The chamber had a wardrobe, too, though Micah possessed nothing to store in it, save for the tattered clothes upon her back. There was a writing desk, upon which lay a basin for washing, and a chamber pot for more delicate business beneath. This pot was, thankfully, far cleaner than the one Micah had found in the dungeons, so white and spotless, she imagined it unused. Is it not also covered in a layer of dust? The desk faced a large window, which was currently obscured by a set of dark blue curtains. Micah could not see beyond this window, though she doubted she would have been afforded much of a view even if she had drawn the curtains back. It was very late, after all. It was not as cold in this room as it was in the underground cells. But it wasn't warm, either. The wind crept in through fine cracks in the aged windows to toy with the reddish-orange flames of the two lit candles. To toy, too, with Micah's hair and the hem of her dress. She shivered. Do you not have a tongue in your head? Magdalena needled Micah, who had yet to speak. And tell me that you've come all shy. I brought you to this room solely so that you might sleep. I have no wicked designs on your innocence, regardless of how pretty you are. I only want your blood, not your body. I beg your pardon? I ain't so sure about that. Micah blinked at Magdalena, uncomprehending. What designs are you speaking of? You cannot tell. I'm sure I have no idea. None whatsoever. Not at all. I am wholly ignorant of such affairs. Goodness me! Magdalena rolled her red eyes upwards to the ceiling, which seemed to sag beneath its own weight. I can't tell whether you're being done so on purpose or whether you really are that innocent. Your mother never teach you what men and women do in chambers such as this. My mother did not know. She thought such topics beneath her. That was my governess's job, although I don't think that I would care to do much of anything in a chamber like this one. It smells like the grave. Tut tut. I'm being rather rude about my home, you know. Here I am, trying to be a good hostess, and you throw my kindness back in my face. I know you do not like your home much either. You told me. Touché. I did try to pick up one of the pleasanter rooms for you, but there's so very many of them, it's difficult to keep abreast of them all. I rarely have visitors over, and when I do, they all get thrown into the dungeon. Your little point, therefore, in keeping those rooms spick and span. I hope you can forgive all the dust and the general disuse. Oh, I have more to take issue with than that. Yes, I suppose you do. You have quite the bone to pick with me. Maybe I do, but not right now. I'm too tired. Yes, you do look it. Your face is frightfully pale. Is this her thigh? Is this her skirt? That's really short. I think a good night's sleep is what the doctor ordered, provided you are able to rest, that is. That would be nice, but... Micah let her fingers trail along the brocaded covers of the bed, her expression pensive. What did you mean earlier when you said you had no designs on my innocence? Dear me, I thought you were joking. I can see that you're in no fit state for it. I don't tell jokes that I'll laugh about. You have even less to laugh about now, you poor dear. Magdalena cleared her throat. I don't need to say that I would not undo you as a man might, regardless of our surroundings. I've no nefarious intentions, of that you can be assured. Micah thought of her governess's explanation of sex and of Walter's expectations come their wedding night, and flushed. The sunrush of blood beneath her cheeks enticed Magdalena in any way, she did not show it, though her fingers did twitch in their tight, constricting gloves. I don't understand. I know what men and women do behind closed doors, but how could two women set about something similar? It's not possible. You think so? I know so. My governess explained everything to me in great detail. When one wishes to make a baby, well, two women cannot do that. There would be no sense to it. And you think people ought to do things only because they make sense? It's quite narrow-minded. I do feel often uneducated in such affairs, both in my time and in your own. In some ways the world's changed a great deal, yet in others... Well, never mind. I can see I'm only confusing you. This girl doesn't know about fingers! You're so very innocent, it hurts. Perhaps it is to be expected, though. Ladies ought not to know of such things. They are born and bred to be ignorant. What? Micah had not understood the full implications of Magdalena's previous lament, but she understood well enough what she meant by this. Why would you call me that? I already told you, I'm not a lady. I am Lady Henrik's faithful servant? Yes, you did say. And that's true. She is the lady, not I. Did labor that point quite intensely, yes, back in the cells. You were so fervent about it, you almost had me fooled. At least you would have. If you weren't such a terrible actress. What? Oh, don't butt me. It's quite tiresome. Do you think I'd fail to notice all of your fancy turns of phrase? Your vocabulary is that of a well-to-do young madam, not a maid. Not even a lady's maid. Met that sumptuous dress of yours easily, dirty though it is, and your bearing is definitively regal. You never hope to pass as a common serving girl, not in a month of Sundays. Not stupid. Then... Micah sank down on the bed, which creaked beneath her as if in warning. Palms were pressed to the mattress to support her weight, which all of a sudden felt excessive, and her heart was pounding like a drum. You knew I was lying from the very beginning. Indeed, I did. It was very obvious. Until you have no practice in deceit, Micah. You're much too sweet for it. And if you knew I was lying, why did you agree to let Henny go? Herr Gerhardt wouldn't lift a finger to hide Henny if she disappeared. But he will surely come looking for me. Herr Gerhardt, is that the name of your fiancé? Yes, it is. You don't refer to him by his Christian name. That is... Dear me, you mustn't be very close to the man. Why, you make him sound like a stranger. Do you truly wish to marry him? I hadn't any choice. My parents... Oh yes, it was silly of me to ask. That's how it always goes, isn't it? What of your fiancé? Does he know you well enough to try and rescue you? I think he might. Micah swallowed, tasting dust on her tongue. He's an important businessman. He takes exacting care of his investments, or so I've heard. Imagine it would be the same for me, too. I'm a Von Essen, after all. There'd be a lot of prestige in wedding me. Well, that is how he regards you, a profitable purchase. I cannot say. After all, I hardly know him, and therefore cannot judge how he sees you. Does that sum it up? It is not entirely inaccurate, no. What a woeful state of affairs this is. Sounds like you would be wretched whether you were in my home or out of it, particularly if the latter would entail being by the Zerk Earhart's side. Perhaps I did you a favor by bringing you here? Micah did not reply to this. She did not want to give Magdalena the satisfaction. Well, never mind all that. Your fiancé can try to look for you if he likes. I do not care. I doubt he would be able to best me. But you said you wished to avoid all that. And I really? Yes, you did. That's why you proposed letting me go. Oh, good. Oh, yes. Good memory. It seems that the cold hasn't eaten away at all of your faculties. Not just yet, at least. So why I changed my mind? Well, that needn't concern you. This is about me, so I think it must concern me. Well, there's no real reason behind it. It was nothing more than an act of whimsy on my behalf. If you truly want to know why I went along with your chicanery, then... I'll just say that I felt touched when you offered to throw your life away for the sake of your maid. Few mistresses would be capable of such compassion. That's truly remarkable. I didn't want your efforts to be in vain, that's all. And you are prepared to put yourself in danger for that. I won't be in any danger. I'm a vampire. I can shatter rib cages with a single touch. Or thereabouts, at least. Now, you really must get some sleep. It'll be much better for you than asking all these silly questions. But I have nothing to change into. What will I sleep in? Considered as much and took the liberty of stocking these drawers with some of my own clothes before I fetched you. You shall find that they fit, more or less, and they're clean, which is more than can be said for the rest of the linens in this place. There are books on the shelves, too, which you may read, and I drew upon a basin of water for you to wash yourself in upon awaking. You find no better amenities in any inn. I do hope you have a pleasant night, and sweet dreams. Magdalena smiled sardonically, then dropped Micah another curtsy. Just try not to breathe in through your nose if the smell bothers you. I wouldn't want you to spend the night coughing. Fair lady such as you needs her sleep. Laughing to herself, Magdalena straightened and turned. She parted, her long cloak trailing against the age-spotted carpet, and shut the door behind her. Micah waited until she heard Magdalena's footsteps fade, then rose once more to her feet. She crossed the room, her legs trembling, and seized the doorknob between her fingers, but it stubbornly refused to budge. The door was locked. Well, of course it is. What did I expect? Defeated, Micah returned to the bed, where, from all that had happened, she collapsed upon it, her loose hair strewn in spirals across the sheets. Micah stared up at the ceiling, which was drenched in darkness, and softly muttered, What am I going to do now? Micah's question, of course, fell upon deaf ears. There was nobody to hear her. She was all alone. Okay. Micah tossed and turned uneasily that night, in a bed which smelled of disuse and decay. The bed was more comfortable than the cell in which she had been held, but it was almost as cold, thin sheets eaten away by old age and insects. At least the dungeon with its sole wooden cot and its solitary window was supposed to be inhospitable. Did you get distracted by the sexy picture? His bedroom, meanwhile, was a different matter. It was richly furnished, but all of its decorations had since been ravaged by time's unrepentant advances. The men and women who must have stayed in this room once more than a century ago would surely be dead now. In that sense, the room felt akin to a crypt. That make the bed a sarcophagus, Micah a corpse. Magdalena had spared Micah's life for the present. Micah doubted that she would be so fortunate in the future. Magdalena was not, Micah reminded herself, a human, but a vampire. She wanted to suck Micah of her blood, and when she did, Micah would lose her life, just as this room's previous inhabitants surely had. You don't know that? They could have just died of old age. Magdalena's home was so decrepit, it seemed unfathomable that life could flourish within its walls. I wouldn't call a single vampire living there flourishing, girl. It's not so very different, really, from that Von Essen mausoleum. The air even smelt the same. It smelled of death. No matter how Micah tried, she could not get comfortable. All the while, as she tried to sleep, she heard the window howling outside, creeping stealthily like black-cloaked thieves through the cracks in the glass panes. Micah's bare toes curled against the mattress. Anxiously, she shuddered. What? Your toes are under the sheets, right? What was to become of her now? Nothing! Because that's the end of the demo. Probably. I assume so. Yes. That's why there's credits happening. Oh. Get through the credits. We did it! We defeated the demo of the romance lesbian vampire game. One of those words was redundant. Whatever. At least we got to see the hot vampire being a bitch. Well, if you want to play it for yourself and see what happens next, then you can buy it. Because this one is out on Steam. And it's half off. Oh, no, it's not half off. It's 20% off. It's $10 right now. Woo! We're not gonna do any more of these things. That's a good enough amount of time, I say. You live in Canada, though, don't you? Remember, we got to... Yeah, for $300. I don't have $300. But we, you know what does have more than $300? Our fundraiser. We passed $400 last night. I mean, we get hand cam stream. Demo got too spicy, streamer leaves. Unfortunately, I would have to leave anyways because that's where the demo ends. Hand cam stream and the cookie decorating stream and the karaoke stream. If you do have suggestions you'd be interested in hearing me sing badly for the karaoke stream, you can suggest them. I made a new channel in the Discord for it. There's the Discord link. But